Hello. Hello, everybody. I don't even know if I'm coming through. I can't hear myself. This is a terrible setup, but we're making it work. Hi, folks. Good to see you all today. Assuming I can see you. There we go. Welcome in, chatters, beautiful, beautiful gardeners, lovely people, the fruits and veggies of the good folks of Star Citizen and space games and stuff like that. I can't hear myself talk, so I'm assuming I'm not screaming and yelling at you guys. But happy to be here for another day. Another day. So I had plans for today, folks. I wanted to first jump into Star Citizen, actually do some Zero to Hero stuff for about an hour. And then I was going to go from there to actually playing Jump Ship. I was going to jump in with actually some garden folks, and we were going to hit the game up, but it's not working. I can't even run games at this point. I guess not enough RAM. I'm genuinely confused. I've done a lot of troubleshooting. And unfortunately, I don't know whether it's because I'm not having enough RAM. I have 16 gigs. And as you can see, it's telling me that I'm using 80% already just through primarily Google Chrome. I don't even know if you can trust this screen because I don't see how I'm using 16 gigs of RAM. Or 12, whatever it might be. Either way, 16 gigs of RAM was not enough for this PC, I guess, to play video games or to play DaVinci Resolve or Affinity Photo. So I don't really know what exactly the problem is, but we are going to try and get some more RAM for this computer. As for the other computer, we are attempting to rebuild it. I've done, at this point, 10 plus hours of troubleshooting, resetting the CMOS, changing the graphics cards, changing the CPU, reflashing the BIOS, everything possible, but it ain't working. So we are now looking at Turkish prices for a motherboard and a graphics card so that we can try and continue making content. At this point, we have no other way to pay for it other than whatever donations we can make right now. So there is a goal here on the stream, and moving forward, once we complete that goal, we can return to normal. A big thanks to anybody who can contribute. You don't have to. Don't feel obligated to. Just being here and taking part in the stream is super appreciated. But as of right now, I'm sorry, but I can't really work on videos. I can't play games. Hey.
Awesome.
Sorry, I was being told some instructions by the niece. Can you look at the AMD software for performance output? It's on a. I don't even think I have the AMD software installed here. That's. Oh, look at that! I do. Adrenaline Edition. Well, let's see. It's not compatible with your currently installed AMD graphics driver. I'm not an AMD graphics card. I don't know if that's what you're asking about. Dora was asking for something. He was asking. What's taking up so much CPU? Probably OBS. Since I'm streaming right now. You know, we could do this live. You guys can straight up tell me yourselves because I've been struggling to figure this out. I don't know. 45% of my CPU being used up. What by? We click on it, and I guess this eventually adds up to 45%. But this is why streaming and doing things on one PC at the same time is not a good idea. Afternoon, KP. How you doing? Here for your free Asgard. Good luck. Good luck unlocking that. I think I might have cam on this computer. I do not. NZXT cam. I only have this set up. Let's see if this ruins my face. So while we're kind of just talking, to be quite honest, I didn't have much planned for today, so I don't have really much to go over. I was planning on playing games, so we're going to talk for a bit, and then we'll head over to the cooking stream with Mrs. Tomato, and we'll get back to those good times. But I figured while we're here, we can talk about some feature development that's been going on, some of the stuff that from the past people have been more excited about, we're still waiting for. And I pulled up some videos to go over the history of the Banu Merchantman in honor of Alien Week coming up. I figured we could stop by a little bit. And you see, I can't even load Chrome tabs. I find it hard to believe that this is all just because of RAM, but I don't know what else could be the problem. I genuinely wish that I never had to deal with computers. This is going to be the end of Space Tomato, I fucking swear to God. I can't. It's like we can't work without computers and the computers will never work. I'm sorry for complaining so much about it, guys. I'm like at my wit's end. But maybe Cam will tell us what the problem is. The GPU cannot be found. A new GPU has been set. Okay, so how is this comparing to our Windows monitoring? Is it accurate? Looks like our CPU is running about 30% via Windows, 20% via CAM. So who the heck knows? Who knows what's correct? Memory is about the same though. That is proven to be correct. 16 gigs of RAM is, I guess, just not enough to do things anymore if you have like Chrome running in the background. So, Chrome memory saver. Okay, I'll turn that on. Hey, look, I have it on. Maximum memory savings. Banu Merchantman is a myth. It's not real. It can't hurt us. It will hurt us every year to come from 2014, 2013 to 2025. Oppressing gamers. What kind of CPU? 5950X. 64 gigs of RAM is what you want nowadays. It's just so much money. Tech is great when it works, but it's worse when it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. Graphics drivers are up to date. I've gone through just about every possible step. I can actually show you guys the ChatGPT thread of me troubleshooting this. Let me show you how long I've been doing this. This is the second of 2 threads. Just talking back and forth, sharing error codes, and going through all the different steps. So this is like my log from DaVinci Resolve, which is basically telling me that it was failing due to a USB error. How the heck there's a USB error? I don't know, guys. I don't know. So I did all these troubleshooting steps. Still got error codes, did more troubleshooting steps, got more error codes, more troubleshooting steps, more error codes, more troubleshooting steps, more error codes, more troubleshooting steps. Like I've been doing this. So I'm just looking for very unnatural solutions at this point. Like dunk my motherboard in peanut butter or something. Pour rice into my case. Have we looked at laptops for our moves? I have a laptop. It's also shit. Like I originally tried with the laptop, but the laptop couldn't handle it. And to be quite honest, I didn't have enough money to buy a new laptop. So we were kind of screwed on that. The laptop I got had a 2070 Ti in it, I believe. But It just wasn't great. Maybe it is maybe it is drivers. I can redo those. The weird thing is this is a computer that has not been changed in any way. This was left here, and then no parts were taken in or put out. Put out or taken in. I don't know. One or the other. So I have no idea why that one's having problems. Could be drivers or motherboard. USB drivers. I can try USB drivers as well. I'll try USB drivers on this one. Hopefully then we can play some games. No, the RAM was not left in it. That was actually, I had to buy it. That was, you guys helped with that, getting brand new RAM for it, but that doesn't seem to have solved the problems. It definitely made it better. Computer runs better than it did. So that's, I can tell that RAM was a problem, but still having plenty of issues with things crashing and stuff. But that's not why we're doing the whole funding thing in the bottom corner. That is because of this. This thing. This is our main PC. Come here, don't be shy. This is our main PC, and this is what normally plays games and renders videos, and basically this is what runs all of Space Tomato Gaming. But it is currently not working. Come on, buddy. All right, fine. It's currently not working because, well, I don't know why. Also done plenty of troubleshooting with that. And it won't even accept a BIOS reflash right now. So that's why there is the little thing down in the bottom over there. And that is the reason that we're not... The reason we're not doing the traditional kind of just like we go and subs and stuff helps is because the stupid thing I didn't realize last week is that basically if we make money on YouTube, we're not going to actually receive that money for about 50 days. And since we don't have anything right now, that basically means we don't build a PC at least until we get paid for last month's stuff, which is next week. So that's why we're trying to do basically anything, any support through PayPal, because that's more immediate. That's the last time I'm going to mention it because I really hate talking about this. To support, this is Tomato, I think, created a command. No, she did not. Oh, she did there. Is that it? I think that's it. Yes. So if you type an exclamation point tip, that makes the link pop up. It is an AM5 computer, yes. Which is, I didn't realize AM5 is a lot. It's hefty. I don't know what number they're up to now, but AM5 motherboards are a lot more than the older Intel motherboards. That's for sure. Leave it disconnected from the wall, pull the BIOS battery, push power to drain any residual charge, put back in and test. Tried that one. Disconnected everything, took out CMOS battery, reset CMOS. And, oh, it's currently still AM5. Okay, I thought they were more advanced than that. Did all the residual charge stuff, but it's not working. I don't know. Anybody who is on the Discord, I appreciate any tech help. We have a channel there, and I posted all of my problem. Not all my problem. I posted kind of the issue that's going on there. To try and ask folks about my system. Asus Easy Flash software. It should be pre-installed. So I have a conversation going on in there with folks to try and figure out what's going on, but that's all we're up to. Have you changed the battery? No. What's up, Frisch? You have AM4 PC with 128 gigs of RAM you don't need. How the heck? How do you have that, dude? Arne gifted $100 towards the computer. Thank you so much, man. Why doesn't that go up onto the thing? Okay, that should have updated. Let me try and update that myself. I appreciate you, dude. Did check the power supply. Tested it with the paperclip. It runs well. It's not much. Are you, dude? That's a ton. Don't say that's not much. That is literally a third of the motherboard right there. Mostly ASRock motherboards for those. I was looking at an ASRock motherboard. Is that a good or bad idea? A lot of cases around the world where X33 CPUs went broken without any visible marks. Yikes. Okay, then I will not get that kind of motherboard. Thank you for the heads up. Anna Bunches just threw down $50 towards the PC build. Thank you so much. Hold on, I'm going to update this so that you guys, it actually shows that for you guys. Okay, I won't get ASRock. I won't get Asus either. I keep hearing bad things about Asus. I'm going to try and get MSI instead. But I was just going to look for a direct replacement for this motherboard, to be honest. I don't want to complicate things. Just want to get the work back flowing. And thank you all so much for helping out with that already, you two. We really appreciate that. Okay. Now I'm going to give us some actual content. It's not going to be all about me complaining. I'm sorry. Let me just adjust this a little bit. And then we're going to learn about the Banu Merchantman. Anybody in chat, big Banu Merchantman fan? Is this going to hurt anybody? Like, should we have any content warnings, discretionary advisements for anyone in chat? MSI stays the best. Oh, I hear. Keep it plugged in, take a screwdriver that has a rubber grip, cross the BIOS reset pins when the PC is on. Then it should turn off. Then while still pressing the power button. You think you could post that in the Discord for me? That's a heck of a instructions. I don't know if I'll remember that. Asgard giveaway, just type an exclamation point giveaway. It'll take you to the link. Still waiting, still waiting, still waiting. Still waiting. You guys are going to get a kick out of this video then because they talk about that. they talk about it quite a bit. Yo. Griffin Myers, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, friend. Thank you for also gifting towards this PC rebuild. We really appreciate it. Guys, I promise after this, when we go back to the States, I'm not going to transport anything anymore. I'm just going to do what we can to make sure that we have the parts we need in either space and just not open up these PCs anymore. We owe it to you guys to stop going through this every single freaking year, and I'm really sorry. Me and Mrs. Tomato were actually really excited to move and make this move and like not have any hiccups, and we were so close. All the videos were good to go. Main channel was good to go. I would have had the video out yesterday for you. It's a good video too. It's talking about how the strategy for 2025 is kind of progressing and it's working with the content and the ship releases and all that stuff, but at the same time it's struggling because they're not producing any features to keep up with that content. Hopefully I can get that out tomorrow, but I don't know. We'll see if DaVinci works with me then. Mrs. Tomato is back. You drop off. Why? Nobody. What do you mean it's for her? Ow!
Ow! It's for all the support.
It's for them.
Gang.
They didn't even. They'd support a lot if they knew I'd get shot for it. They didn't even ask for it.
I ask.
Okay.
It's my gift.
All right, that's fair. You do have a nice motherboard in that PC. Surely it can be reflashed somehow. I'm gonna keep trying. What? That's great, but for how long? Okay.
Anytime.
Okay. All right. I'll let chat know.
Friday.
Yeah. Okay, guys. It sounds like we won't be able to do the cooking stream today because the water's about to get shut off. So we're just gonna talk and stuff, and then we'll get to other things. We'll come back on Friday, and I'm hoping we have some stuff to make this better. You wish you could afford to help a funds. Hey, Matt, it's all good. I appreciate you, dude. You're here every freaking stream, man. You've done more to help than a flock of seagulls over a patch of crackers. That was a ridiculous simile. Was that even a simile? It might have been a metaphor. I don't know. Water's for amateurs. We also don't really have food. We haven't gone grocery shopping yet. It's just, it's a lot. It's a hefty move, this one. Not the best one. We can just mix flour and yeast, though. That should work. All right, let's talk about the Merchantman. So, the Banu Merchantman is kind of a funny ship because it's, I don't know, it's almost a joke at this point in how it's such a big and highly anticipated ship that so many people want, but it's also so ambiguously defined that a lot of people, I don't even think, understand what it's going to be used for. And I don't mean the people like you guys, you obsessors in chat, or you clicked on this video faster than you can say onomatopoeia. Y'all know exactly what you're going to do in the Banu Merchantman. Box missions. But the rest of the community, the people who don't obsess over this, are probably like, okay, cool. What is it, a capital ship of some sort? A home base? So, it is a trading ship, but it's kind of like a floating bazaar. And that on its own makes it sort of pointless being in game right now. Because can you imagine what you would do with a floating bazaar? Like, player shops what? When? And that's why I think this is something that maybe it'll be more likely when space building is in, once player shops exist and storefronts can be managed, you know? It's sort of a big requirement for a floating mall. But as you're going to see throughout the videos that we're about to watch on these updates throughout the years from 2013 to 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. We have something every year. 2021 again and 2022. We got almost almost an update every year in the later years on the Banu Merchantman and the crazy meandering path it has taken to development and hype and all that jazz. So sit back, folks, and get ready for this fun little journey. We're going to talk about the most disappointing ship delivery so far that still hasn't come. Yeah, the Kraken privateer people are going to be looking for this too. How bizarre. God dang it. How bizarre. How bizarre. You're gonna say morning, but good any time of the day. Abdi, good morning to you, dude. What? Is there... No, where?
Oh.
It's
I
not.
was shooting.
People are
People are
supporting?
getting
Wait, I can't see where. It's not showing up on
Go
the
on your
email?
PayPal.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah, why are the alerts not coming through?
Gilbert just
Wait, what?
yeah.
How am I missing this? You guys are out here
Anna gave
supporting the...
50, Robert
I
gave
saw that.
69.
I did.
Holy mother of
Wait,
was us paying.
wait. I'm sorry, guys. I need to get the, like, this, at least the PayPal open, because I'm not getting the alerts for this for some reason. You guys are out here supporting...
You.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, okay. Now I'm seeing it. It's not... It's... I guess maybe Twitch doesn't say something. Yes, please. Yeah, see if they can get alerts on for that on the overlay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm just now seeing support towards this goal. Let me try and update that. Holy crap. Like around there. I'm so sorry we keep delaying everything, guys. This is like a cluster of tech complications. All right. Thank you all so much. We are going to get this computer built. We got a summer of fun ahead of us, I swear.
Versus in package.
We've for posterity, okay? Just to give you guys a little bit of hype, we have been reached out by two, not one, two companies that are manufacturing games that I am personally excited for in the last like week. And we are excited to cover both of those alongside them as they move forward. I'm not going to talk about what exactly they are just yet, but like we're excited to get back to doing content. We got some cool stuff that we're going to get into. So thank you so much for helping us continue along. Not going to tell you, just a teaser. Just a teaser, Mrs. T. Nothing too crazy yet. All right. Let's talk about the Banner Merchantman now. After all the hype and the anticipation. I made you wait almost as much as CIG at this point.
I'm okay though. Now on to the most valuable post. This week goes to posts you may have seen about the Banner Merchantman. This thing right here. This week's award goes to Grishord for his thread about which end is the front of the Banner Merchantman, which it turns out is a very touchy topic because it led to 48 pages of heated speculation. One of the great things about this community, every little thing matters, just like it does to the team here. So after all that talk, we tracked down the artist who created the ship and our visual director, Chris Olivia, and we confirmed that the elongated end is indeed the front, and everyone seems to be happy with that. So, Grishord, thank you for keeping the forums interesting this week. You're our MVP. Now I'm gonna hop in my constellation and fly out of here.
Thanks, Ben. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for.
So this was this is actually Wingman's Hangar for those who watched the Con 42 thing, and we went over. I published a video about Con 42 and something that Jared said during that stream or during that event, and it got a lot more attention than I thought it would. But if you did watch that video, you probably heard him talk about the Wingman's Hangar and how they don't want to talk about what Wingman's Hangar talked about and how that might not be exactly what they do going forward. This is it. And these are the kind of topics that you got to hear about. The Banner Merchantman in 2013 with 48 pages, he said, I think, of speculation about how that ship looks, what the front and back end of the ship is. So the obsession started early. It did not grow over time. The Banner Merchantman was the forbidden fruit for a lot of folks right off the bat for this project. C. McD, thank you so much for this super chat in YouTube. Appreciate you, my brother. I hope you're having a good week. It's not coming in our lifetime. Dude, 12 years ago this. I mean, 11 and a half, but we're getting there. All right, stepping forward, we're making a big old jump because I didn't feel like going through those middle years. We're going to jump straight to 2018, where at this point we had gotten to post 3.0 time. The major parts of the scope creep around the project had subsided mostly. And the company itself was getting a little bit better at delivering and having some sort of coherent path through their development. So at this point, they were talking about ships with a little bit more confidence regarding their development and kind of what the story was around them. But they still talked in a way that I think is probably going to bug some people now, 7 years on.
Have one artist coming free. You know, you can sit there and say, we've got one artist. Obviously, having one guy start on something the size of the Merchantman with the scale of work on the Merchantman is not very efficient, but you can take the one guy and put him on the Reliant variants.
Yeah.
For instance, and so those get moved up because he is going to be free because his work is cleared up quicker.
And like I said earlier about the Polaris having the Bengal and the Connies to pull from, and the Carrack having the Valkyrie and the Terrapin to pull from, the same's true for the Merchantman. We're doing the Defender now, so we can solve a lot of the artistic, technical questions on a small scale before doing it large scale. The Endeavour, if we tried to do the Endeavour, I can't remember which came first, the Starfarer or the Endeavour.
The Starfarer.
If we tried to do the Endeavour soon after the Starfarer, we only really had that one big misc ship, and I know a lot of people don't like the layout of it. And I like to think that we've learned a lot about interior layouts since then.
Yeah.
So the Endeavour could have turned out quite differently if we'd just gone, this is next in the line, let's do it now.
Yeah, the Endeavour...
They're getting there. They were not quite at the point here where they were saying, yeah, we're not going to release any ships if they don't have gameplay. But they're getting kind of there at this point and being like, it helps if we design these ships later. Yeah, it really does. The Van and Merchantman would probably be an entirely... It probably will look quite different from what we expected by the time they release it, at least on the interior. And we're going to get some really good looks at the interior here in a bit. Tom Gates, Hyatt Amsterdam, thank you both for subbing up on Prime, or on Twitch with your Prime. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. Oh, I need to double check. Papal. Papal. Yeah, John Crew is, honestly, it does not look like the ship stress is getting to him.
Not the Endeavour. The Starfarer and the Retaliator were two of the first ship interiors that we did, and I think one of the big challenges that we encounter as development goes on is, you know, folks having to wait for their ships, wait for their ship's time to come into the pipeline to be done. And the best thing that I can offer to people, and you've heard me, people have heard me offer this over and over again, it's still true, is that we get better as we do this. You know, I think,
there it is.
I don't think anybody will argue that the ships we made in 2015 were better than the ships we made in 2014, in 2016 better than 2015, in 2017 better than 2016, and so on and so on. So the wait is actually in many ways one of the best things that can happen for your particular favorite ship. You know,
Oh, dude, that would be so funny. I'm tempted. That'd be so mean to like make this more well known. Like to clip that and post it on the Star Citizen subreddit. Oh my god, people would lose it, dude. Like, what he's saying is correct, but to watch a video from 2018 about the ship that's being held off on because of this kind of excuse, and then to be sitting in 2025 and still not have the ship. Oh man. Yeah. But it's true. How much better are the ships that they build now than they were 6 years ago? I mean, That, I think, is a good enough reason for us to say, can you please redo all the starter ships? Can we please see an Aurora Gold Standard update?
The more we get done before we do your ship, the more experience we have, the more common elements we have, the more people we have, the more resources in general that we have. And ultimately, I think you get a better result for it. For everybody that's been waiting for the Carrack, I don't want to blow it out of proportion or anything, but I think the Carrack that you're going to get, hopefully next year, it will be better than the Carrack you would have gotten if we had made it 2 years ago.
While that might be true, people really wanted that concept image Carrack, and it got a little chunky. Got a little chunky when it got delivered, so who knows? But yeah, like what Jared is saying here is like makes sense, just like what he said at Con 42 makes sense. But unfortunately, as the face and PR for a company in a position like this, the stuff that he says, because of the context, I mean, because of the time it's taken, because of the difficulties of the development, it all just doesn't sound as good. And that's why I'm laughing and having a hoot at it. I understand what he's going for. It's rough to hear. It's rough to say. I say things that I'm like, man, I don't like saying that given how long we've been waiting, but at the same time, it is the truth. The Carrack is CIG's finest creation. Problem is sustainability. They're spending so much money in person hours to design each ship. That's possibly my biggest worry about the game. That is where they make their money, though, too. At least there's that. My hope is that these ships are such valuable assets, and they can build so many components and paints and stuff for these ships that make money in the future that it's an appreciating asset. You put all that time into the ship. And then you kind of have to keep it up to date every once in a while. But how much more money is that ship bringing in per year after that than the amount you initially spent on it? I don't want to call it an investment, but let's say it's like a it's like if a company is going to sell you, a gun, right? If a company's going to sell you a gun, then one of the best business practices they can do is make it so that you need to keep buying ammo for that gun. Sometimes you like the tracer rounds for that gun. Sometimes you like the hollow points. Maybe you want to get your special, avocado-filled bullet casing. Whatever it might be. You come up with some way of making people continue to dip back in for that stuff. I'm hoping that's what they can figure out how to do with these ships, that they can better sustain all this, because you're absolutely right, you can't just keep making ships like this forever. It's taken a lot out of them. Naders, thank you for the sub with the Prime over on Twitch. Don't question my metaphors, okay? They come out of the far reaches of my mind,
A cargo
which is mostly just overwhelmed by Star Citizen facts and comes up with nothing really interesting otherwise. All right, here's another update on the Merchantmen. This one, wait, was there an update on the Merchantman here? Oh, this was just a quick update on the Defender. So this was interesting because, like the clip we just listened to, they talk about how they build out certain ships and that helps them build other ships in the future. So at this point, the hype was building because, kind of like the things they said, we want to work on the Defender so that we can then move on to the Merchantman. Then they kind of start talking about the Merchantman, and as we see here, the Defender comes up and we see the styling. You know what the first thoughts on everyone's mind is going to be.
That's Croning. # sponsored. Finally, in this week's Sprint Report, here's a look at progress on the ever-elusive Banu Defender. This two-person craft from humanity's first interstellar friends has required an
Bro, why can't I change the quality? Making me watch Star Citizen in 360.
additional looks at the Banu Defender ahead of its intended
So should I assume this is also because of whatever problems I'm dealing with on my PC?
release in Alpha 3.
Like nothing. Maybe this is some kind of hardcore driver issue. There's no reason that I can't
The Star
watch this
Citizen
in full
universe.
quality. None of them are letting me watch them in full quality. This is weird, guys. Computers are weird. Anyways, here's the update.
Friends,
Not much I can
required
do.
an extensive effort to create and define the look and feel of Banu culture and technology, because it will not only be the first glimpse at this civilization in the Star Citizen universe, but will set the stage for development of the ever-popular Banu merchantmen in the
And see, and he literally mentions it too. This is setting the stage for the merchantmen in 2019. People were rubbing their hands together, starting fires. Ooh!
future. We'll check in with additional looks at the Banu Defender ahead of its intended release in Alpha 3.7 throughout the quarter. With 68 rooms.
All right. So there's your 2019 update on the Banu Merchantman. We continue. The Cutter Scout is CIG's greatest creation and the most meta dogfighter, hauler, and racer in the game. Definitely a racer. Good points. I was thinking about all the ships that need large reworks with their modern tool chain, but the market for that ship is already saturated. You're not wrong there either. The reworks are a scary thought and kind of a scary complication about this game. I do hope that that doesn't overwhelm them. Some of the larger ships in the interiors are larger than a COD map. Yeah, the Idris is freaking huge on the interior. When it comes to PCs, you're cursed. Abdi, I wish I never had to deal with one again, to be honest. I'm so over them. Update the browser? I think the browser's okay. Doesn't say I need an update. They have no asset kit yet. Well, we will see that they did start development on it, but God knows what happened to that. Looks like there was a new donation over on the PayPal. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who is helping us out on getting this PC rebuilt. I promise as soon as it is back to function, I'm going to have not just the main channel back up to speed and delivering videos, but the Space Tomato Plays channel has like 2 or 3 videos ready to go. I want to get into Jump Ship and record some stuff there. And I definitely want to do some more Zero to Hero videos. So we will have all 3 channels back up and going once we get this thing rebuilt. Thank you to everybody helping out during the stream today. Exclamation point tip to make that link pop up if you do want to chip in. You think it was Paul Jones? He left at almost the same time they stopped the Banu Merchantman development. I think Paul left a little before. The people who were working on it left. Maybe Paul was in that too, though. Was the PC plugged into the wall while you were gone? No, everything was unplugged. If they weren't so determined with having new vehicles for every monthly patch, they would focus a lot of teams on updating ships. To be honest, I think that they're doing that because they need the money. I don't think this is a regular cadence for them. I don't think they're going to keep pace with this for very long. I think they just really need this year to be a big producer going into the Squadron 42 pre-release period. Watching one of the last sitcom videos, they did talk about being able to decorate your interiors with placeable objects. Yeah, that'll snap to the grid. All right, here is a really good, juicy talk about some merchantman stuff. This occurred in 2020, so 1 year after that Defender look around. And just keep in mind, like, the context of this. People are still kind of expecting this to be a ship that comes sometime soon, given the hype and the way they're talking about it.
You knew this was coming. You can't get through a vehicle question without something about the Merchantman. What can you tell us about current plans for the Merchantman? We last heard that the Carrick team was going to move on to there. Is that still the case?
What's the Merchantman? Not heard of that ship before.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
So yeah, the plan was the Carrick team would move on to the Merchantman, but as we were coming towards the end of the Carrick, we had the team do a bit of sort of pre-scouting of the Merchantman, and based on the work that we did on Defender and all the problems we hit with that, which we sort of discussed around this release, we wanted to spend a lot more time concepting it to sort of make it a really solid ship. Because I know the merchantmen known as a super vocal about things. Looking at the concepts, you can see there's quite a lot of inconsistencies with some of them. Want to rule all them out, have it all sort of planned on paper.
Yeah, did you guys,
so to speak, before we...
Are you guys more fans of the old version, the one that looks kind of more like a Vanduul ship, or are you actually into the softer, newer version?
We start modeling it out. So we're Paul Jones and those guys are going to be spending time tightening up the concepts, and then the production team will hit it at some point in the future. But the Carrick team has essentially been split into two smaller ones that are working on two other ships.
Right. We learned a lot of lessons with the Banu Merchantman about how to do the organic style design for the Banu as far as a ship, and I imagine there are a lot of lessons we had to take from that and apply to the Merchantman, which is a ship at a much larger scale.
You guys, it's actually pretty balanced in chat. Preference for the older versus the newer model. It does look like people are leaning more newer, but it does look like there's actually still interest, or sorry, people are leaning more older. No, I'd say it's pretty split. Good for them. Good job, CIG. Do you have other Zero to Hero videos? Looking for all I can to get to learn the current game. The first one, I'm almost ready to publish it. That's what I was talking about. So once we get this PC ready, I get access back to that file, I will probably have the first Zero to Hero run posted by the end of next week. We filmed it a while ago. I just never got to edit it.
Take from that and apply to the Merchantman, which is a ship at a much larger scale.
Yeah, it's like we have with other ships. You can do a ship at a small scale in manufacture, and you have an idea of how it's going to work at a larger scale, but it's not a one-to-one translation.
From the live chat, is having a beard a requirement for working at CIG? No, we let Dave Colson work here.
I got some stubble. I got some stubble goatee.
It's not a beard.
Fair enough.
I don't know what the deal is with game devs and beards.
Any more Merchantman talk?
My face is just fat. And I hate it.
Time.
That's why.
Meanwhile, David Colson's up here without a beard.
Shave.
It's like game designers and like lumberjack check shirts. It's almost like a requirement.
Will future
We will be hearing from him
vehicles
in a couple days during Star Citizen Live this week. That should be an interesting talk. So yeah, more hype about the Merchantman, more talk about how it's supposed to be designed based on what else is going on that will lead into the Banu Merchantman. So like, they were not subtle about it. Skip forward a year, and it shows up in CitizenCon. Okay, guys. So CitizenCon 2021, the whole talking ship kind of thingy. And they actually start showing some visuals.
Let's talk about the Banu Merchantman then. It's that
This
ship has been around for
a long time.
a long time now.
I think fans have
Okay, there we go.
been waiting quite a while for this.
Yeah,
Kinda
we
weird.
haven't really shown a huge amount of it beyond those original concept images. So
No, and I think this is my second round on this. So I think maybe like 3 years ago we did an initial concept
Yeah.
round.
around the time of the Defender, I guess.
I can't actually remember.
So long ago.
Yeah. But sure, let's. I think fans are going to love this.
So there's a few things that need to be updated for the Merchantman. Obviously, we've talked about this many times in the past. As Star Citizen develops, things get added, things get refined, we improve our workflow. So number one thing we had to do was look at the size and the scale of the ship, because I think it was 160 meters wide and 160 meters long, so it's in essence a cube.
Yeah,
but
it's a very tall ship as well.
yeah,
isn't it?
but it was very vague because we had never done a full interior layout, so
Not to like the new system. No.
yeah, so we need to make sure it fit everything in. So it's always a good starting point. The cargo numbers they've never really been changed since they were originally concepted as freight units, not standard cargo units. So the scale of cargo has changed since we did it originally.
I don't remember freight units.
Yeah.
It was
It's a long,
before my
long
time.
ago. The marketplace / bazaar need to have a good working out. And then lastly,
How bizarre.
we want to have some synergy between the Defender and the Merchantman. So we found a way to get a Defender hangar on board. So that obviously has big consequences for the ship. So let's talk about the exterior.
I guess thinking about it seems so long ago since I started on this, but the addition of the
Oh, it was.
the Defender to the ship basically had the biggest impact in a way. Like just because the Defender is not a slim ship, is it?
No, it's deceptively big to me. Like the Defender, I always think in my head that it's this tiny little thing, but
in flight mode it's quite slim.
Yeah.
But
And then when it's landed, it's got this.
Defender's kind of lanky.
big stance.
Yeah. So this has been. I think I've probably been on this for maybe a year, something like that now. And I said before, we did an initial round
Yeah, he was directly involved in it.
of concept work, and it was sort of done more in isolation. So we didn't really have a full interior, and we sort of treated it more as, okay, we need a corridor, we need an idea of a marketplace, we need an idea of a bridge, and we'll kind of sort of piece them together. And so that was maybe like 3 years ago, something like that. And obviously process has changed, as we've discussed today. It's more about the player experience and the flow and things making sense, less rule of cool. If we still have the coolness, but you want it to work right.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be frustrating.
I think when you kind of do it, like obviously this big ship, so you think, oh yeah, we can make whatever room this size and it'll be fine, but that kind of always sets us up for just a lot more headaches when it comes to our side. So by you spending the time to actually like fully flesh out the interior, it just saves us so much time when we come to actually do the production side of it.
Definitely.
Kind of takes all that risk away from us and puts it up front onto you basically.
Yeah.
So thanks, Paul. Yeah.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, we've tried hard. I mean, you can see here that the ship did have to scale up.
Yep. We talked about earlier, we have those hangar
This happens
metrics.
to every ship. If I could, I would find there's like a really funny clip where they show the RSI Orion before it got scaled up and then after, and it's like 300% the size it used to be. This happens all the time to these ships.
And scaled up, it now
Doesn't fit.
doesn't fit the hangar
So
metrics.
we'll get to the solution in a little bit.
Yeah.
And just a quick shot of the front, and you can actually see that from the front it hasn't actually changed that much. It's grown a little bit in height, but gained a little bit.
Yeah, you can already see that it had changed some of its design metrics here and the flourishes, the angles, and the overall design language of it. But these were gold. I mean, they waited till CitizenCon to show this. This was some of the first real footage of actual production on this ship we had seen.
Bit of body mass, but overall pretty similar. I mean, we've the ethos of this whole thing is the ship was really cool anyway. Like everybody really liked the ship, so it wasn't that we wanted to change it just for change's sake. It was just we need to make it work. We do need to advance it, and so between myself, concept artist Mike Oberschneider, and Mark Gibson, one of the CIG's designers,
So there are the names. There, and you know what? I'm actually going to look that up.
Gibson,
Because maybe these are the guys that left, right?
concept artist Mike Oberschneider,
Mark Oberschneider? I don't know how to spell Oberschneider. That's quite the name. YouTube, do you know how to spell that? Let's
so
see.
between myself, concept artist Mike Oberschneider,
Oberschneider. Of course there's going to be an H in there. Oh, no, I spelled that. I spelled that up, but it didn't show up. So maybe he's just not. Well, he does show up on the Merchantman page. So I guess somebody's referenced him before. Mark Ober. No, I don't see his name in here. I don't know why that came up. And who was the other one? Who's the other person you mentioned? Mark. Oh, Mike. Mike Oberschneider, guys. Mark, get your names right. Hey, concept artist, principal concept artist designer. Looks like he's still there. Yeah, he's still there. It looks like he's worked on quite a few. Oh, I recognize him. He's been in a video. Yeah. And it looks like he did the Arastra. Okay, so he's most likely still there. Who was the other one? Mike Gibson. Maybe these guys didn't end up sticking on the Merchantman. You never know. Mark Gibson. Cloud Imperium. Yeah, he's still there too. Don't dox me. Ah, it looks like he did move over to Star Atlas, though. Oh my god. Why are all these places like this? You can't see the info unless you log in. I think maybe I have a Space Tomato version of LinkedIn. No, I don't. I just want to see if this guy's still working at CIG or not. There we go. Yeah, he's still there. He had made a post about Star Atlas, though. Oh, it's just a like. Okay, so both those guys are still working there, so they must not be the guys who took the work with them, because as we'll hear in an update coming up here soon, the team got kind of scalped. The team that was working on the Merchantman, and that's why we lost it big time. I think that was a really big failure. I think that's actually a big embarrassment for CIG that their competitors were able to swoop in and take such key artists and set back such a big development for them that was clearly a focus for a long time. We've been going through the years and they've been hyping this up. And this looks like they're getting close. You're going to see in these next couple of videos, they're getting even closer. You think it was just Paul Jones? Oh, they made it sound like it was a whole team. Because I don't know how much I can share, but like I knew somebody who also went over to Star Atlas, and they made it sound like there were a couple people who went, and that really shook up CIG. But maybe we'll get around to that as we go further.
And Mark Gibson, one of the CIG's designers, we basically met twice a week, every week for months, and basically gone through this ship from top to bottom, inside to out.
Twice a week, every week for months. There's something to be said about work being lost, and I'm not going to say it. But I do wonder how much of those meetings was able to persist in the company even after Paul left, you know? How much are they able to retain this knowledge? CIG is building something freaking incredible in how they've been able to put together all these studios and this engine with this much freedom over this much amount of time. Unprecedented. We're just not going to see another game company be able to do that. So I really, really hope that they're doing what they need to preserve all of the amazing things that they have developed that aren't just a game.
There's a huge amount of ship.
Yeah, and hands down, this has been the most difficult and hardest ship to date. Like, I've not had a nervous breakdown. Actually, the whole process has been quite nice in a way, but it's just been long. I
think this is the one that, like,
it's a marathon.
To begin with, I was really scared, and then the kind of like the closer you kind of got to finishing your work, the kind of like the less scared I'm getting and the more excited I'm getting. And I'll probably have, when we get into production, I'll be like, oh no, what are we going to do? And then again, once we kind of actually kind of get over that hurdle, because it's quite an intimidating ship, not like just visually, but like It's so funny to hear all this in retrospect.
And there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, we're seeing here the sort of hangar opening. Mm-hmm. So basically, we've one of the sort of
that is a beautiful mechanism. Holy crap!
Of the Banu ships is they sort of incorporate tech where it suits them. So they use tech from humans, they use tech from Xi'an, whatever suits them to sort of achieve what their needs are. So for this ship, we've leveraged a lot of Xi'an tech. So it's a lot of that essentially levitation tech. So stuff doesn't have to be physically connected to move. It sort of hovers and then shifts along. So it's basically given us a lot of opportunity for creativity. So
I'm just thinking about what we just saw animation wise. If that had been delivered to us in 2022, just imagine how much, like, and this is not an excuse for it taking a long time, but imagine how much better it's going to look. Just think about what, say, the Argo raft looks like in terms of detail compared to like the Star Lancer, or the Mercury Star Runner compared to the Zeus. That's a little bit of a bigger time difference, but it's going to look good when it gets into the game. It's just like, I don't even know when it's going to be worth making.
Hangar here, it's always multi-part as well, so it's always kind of nice. Basically shot from the front. This is with the...
Look at this. Look at all these animations, man.
S8, that's
Yeah,
correct, is it?
big size 8 guns. One of the original core cool things of the merchant was all its weapons
Size
are
8 freaking guns
tucked
forward
away
facing.
and hidden, so it
Yes.
gives you that non-threatening aura to start with, and when it needs to, then everything.
I was going to say, it's going to be
pops
quite a powerhouse, really, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
with its guns and its turrets.
There's a proper transformer, this ship.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's probably no area that doesn't transform. Or
Waffle, you're saying this is the most egregious waste of backer funding and development time in the history of the PU? Dude, I might make a video of that. That is a statement right there. But I'm not inclined to disagree. Even just going through this whole review of how they talked about this, and then listening to them talk about how much work they put into this, and once we get to the end of this, just to see where it all led, we'll have to see what comes of it in the future and how much of this work can be helped or help them do that in the future. But yeah, at this point, not looking good.
almost, especially on the exterior. And again, like John said, it's just to keep with that kind of like,
just a friendly trader.
yeah, just a friendly
it's
trader.
peaceful.
Don't worry about me. Just going on my business, and then suddenly everything just
Toes.
pops out, and it's all business. So again, sort of multi-stage animation for the guns. Again, for the turret. The turret featured in the original. There was a hidden.
It was never really fully explained. There was a turret, man turret there that you could get in and defend with, and it was in that top fin, I guess.
Yeah, and when the weaponry is unmanned, it's a lot easier. We can get away with a lot smaller spaces. Once you put a person in it, then it's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah.
And just the player experience, and it's twin gun.
Twin S5, so it's not giving you a little tickle. It's
Yeah.
You're right. The Raft is a very well designed ship. That was not a good example for me to pick. You think they grossly underestimated how much work the Band of Merchantmen would be? Above all things, I hope they learned from this ship. By the time they get to it again, they will probably have to start fresh again. Yeah, it had no gameplay. That is a good point. Like, even if they had released it, it really would have not worked with the game. Even if the concept artist didn't leave, what would it have added? Work on the Polaris helped with the Zeus, Perseus, Galaxy. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. It also doesn't really carry over to other ships.
quite a big punch.
Yeah.
And even though it's only a turret, a gunner, you still got to kind of take all the consideration. You're taking in a pilot seat in terms of their visibility and everything else. And
Coverage as well.
and yes, you expect to see the big guns and the silhouette and get that kind of like the real feel of being in a gunner seat. But like I say, it's quite easy for it to just kind of grow in complexity quite quickly.
So I mean, basically, we've used the GN tech again to help us sort of reveal the turret, also to elevate the turret. Still, we've got multiple ideas for that, so I think we'll just have to figure that out a little further on. And then we had these. I mean, these guns look tiny in comparison, don't they?
They're still
like
sighted. So
pea-shooters.
these are guns that most fighters have equipped to them, but they're on these point defense turrets. So obviously, the ship was big to start with. It's bigger now. It's more of a target for missiles and torpedoes. And one of the best ways we have in game to counter those is these automated point defense turrets. So Banu again, well, humans have these phalanx style guns that shoot down incoming threats. We'll take that and we'll use our own guns. So it's got 4 of these on the hull. So there's 2 on top near the bridge, and then I think we see the other 2 underneath. So you've sort of got your 360 degrees protection from missiles from those. And then there's an additional pair of size 4 remote turrets under the wings. These are controlled from the bridge. The bridge crew mentioned them. So
This thing sounds like a warship.
The thing is, it can carry a fair amount of cargo, and it's got its own trading floor.
It's your livelihood.
You kind of need to make sure that.
I mean,
you can
basically,
protect that.
there's it's a bit of a TARDIS. It's a bit of a there's as people will see, there's a whole bunch of extra stuff that we've squeezed into this compared to the first one. So there's always been this feature on the Banu. It was there on the original, but it never really had a function. Some people called it the paddle, some people called it the flipper, but Chris was like, okay, it needs a reason to be there.
It is very dominant.
It's kind of got to make sense, guys.
One bit of Defender concept art where it's just there, just destroying a mountain. It flies over, just dragging it through.
So we've, it's a multifunction essentially because one of the difficulties was at the top of that flipper.
In lore, didn't the Banu use
is basically the end.
Banu merchantman as a warship if needed? Man, I'm not astro historian. I don't know. I could see it though. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Entrance to the marketplace for traders and the public. So it was, there's that challenge of what it needs to look. It needs to do its job, but it also needs to look visually appealing because it's going to be the entrance. So there was, and we'll see that a little in a second. But it was always a bit of a tricky thing to solve. And so, again, we're seeing here as John mentioned earlier, the ship got wider and didn't actually fit on a landing pad.
Which meant we had no hangars that it would officially fit in. We could only ever officially land at docking stations with docking ports or on a planet's surface, which is, as a trader, you're missing out on all the places you could land to do trading. So we had to find a solution.
I mean, the funny thing
you
is,
trade from the ship.
This is the simplest of the solutions that we came up with. I mean, there's probably like 10 others that we did. Some of them were super crazy, parts just folding back on each other and all sorts of things. So, but in the end, I think, simplicity wins out. I mean,
they're not small bits of wing to move.
It's kind of
there's gaps here, and we haven't got the mesh in there, but there will be. We'll work it out for you, Ben.
Yeah.
So you can see here, this is basically a shot of what is the fuel
ship's huge,
scoop,
man.
but it transforms again and becomes this pathway to the marketplace. So you'll have this, basically why this experience, again, it's kind of the red carpet treatment. You're walking up into the marketplace. It's not in this image, but we will have, hopefully, we'll have like softs, like awnings basically, that will sort of come out as well. And so we'll have that sort of marketplace.
I think for me, this is one of the ships that really excites me because it is very different to, not all the.
You and all of us,
A
Ben.
lot of the ships that we've done, and I think that sort of like initial experience, like you say, of seeing this thing kind of like come and land down, and the traders kind of inviting you in and entering into, it's very otherworldly. Kind of entering up walking up those steps out of one of our kind of space station, like our human space stations.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's going to be kind of really exciting to kind of.
I mean, the idea is that as you go up those stairs, you'll have, holographic visuals of products that are in the marketplace. And so they will sort of pop up and just be spinning. So you'll have
Little ads for Wicklow to give you favors that you don't know what they're going to be. Spinning on the side of the stairs. We hear you. I get you.
Again, it's just that sort of shopping experience. And it's like, oh, okay, I can get that and get that.
Do we actually get the
Maybe even
hologram that we
artifacts
picked?
that the traders picked up. I mean, you've got options basically. So, and then also the cargo that changed.
Cargo is a big topic. It was one of those things in the original concept. Even digging out the original design brief wasn't particularly clear on, was the cargo bay internal, was it external, was it...
What's up, Brig?
And
was it a walkable space?
And we kept it external for the first half of this development.
And then it was during a meeting where I think a bunch of us were in there with Chris, and we were all like, oh no, it's internal, and then someone else was like, oh no, it's external. And then we just decided, like, let's make it enclosed. We'll keep the styling of how it was in the original concept, so you have that sort of, I don't know how you want to call it, shuttering or on the outside.
Yeah, I'm struggling to actually remember it now because I'm kind of like locked into this one. But it was more that it was you saw the cargo crates, didn't you?
They were exposed, weren't they?
Yeah, they were exposed. Certainly from underneath, you could see them all.
Yeah.
They were top mounted, and they could all drop down. But that caused huge problems with the entrance case, where if they could all drop down at the same time, then you couldn't get in the ship to start with. So
we did have a solution, but this is
don't be dumb.
Yeah. So now it's enclosed. You just have one way of dropping at the front, and then we'll see later how it's all managed inside. So you can have the front ramp open and cargo coming up and down. The two systems are not interfering with each other. And
that was
your cargo is more protected as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess, a key element of it, isn't it? Is you know, not only having the like footfall into your marketplace, but these big trade items, you're going to need to deliver them.
Yep. So
Yeah,
we're
it's
going
just
to
a
move
big
on
cargo
to,
ship, right?
So we've been looking at sort of functional images of, basically explaining how we've been dealing with design decisions and how that's affected art. And so now we move on to the sexy stuff of looking at how we've taken the existing Banu materials, from the early merchantmen, which there was a lot of good stuff on that, and then just progressing it a little bit further.
Dude, look at how ornate that looks. This back part right here, I love that. The way it kind of sweeps back, the little embellishments of gold throughout. Even the black is kind of matte here. It all looks really, really freaking nice. I'll be honest with you there.
And, again, this is still probably, this is subject to change still. It's previs, but in terms of where it's heading, it's really quite exciting. And so, not everything is modelled in this. So, there probably will be more folds in the metal, kind of like there is on the Defender. Where,
if you look at the concept images versus where it all ends up pivoting on those arms, there's a lot more detail.
There's a lot more sort of intricate sort of folding of the metal, and so we're just kind of like working in. We're kind of sort of turning it into more. It is more ornate. It's more of a sort of a sort of special item essentially, and sort of really trying to sort of get that impression. So we're layering in the gold, we're layering in all the sort of Art Nouveau line work, sort of with a sort of Banu influence. We're looking at sort of taking materials like opal or whatever the Star Citizen equivalent is of that, and also integrating that into the ship. So it really is sort of a display of wealth. It's like if you've got this, like you're loaded.
It's the crown jewel of your fleet.
It is. So I think it's going in some really nice places, and so we're looking at this heavy bruiser of a turret, and this is still work in progress. Ideally there would be more work to do with this, and so we'd get more of the sort of curvature in the metalwork and stuff. But because we're on because of time scale and stuff, we've got to make some compromises. But we'll pass that information on.
I'm sure we'll have a good kick-off on this one. I like the art on this one. It's good.
So that's the exterior.
Oh boy.
Move on to the interior.
Look how much time they spent on this in 2021. They were so ready for this
We'll go
ship.
over how it was, how it is, and then we'll go on a magical mystery tour
through the
up through the
interior.
ship.
Yep, yep. So it was a lot simpler, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was pre-metric, so we didn't have all the requirements in place.
There were no components.
No components. The marketplace is a lot simpler in here, and so with Banu Merchantman 2.0, or in my head it's 3.0. You know, we basically moved on to a fully upgraded interior roll drum, and so you can see from this cutaway, and it's kind of hard to show all the pathways in this ship.
Dude, that's freaking
I feel like I'm banging this
crazy.
drum, but
That is a wild ship interior. We'll completely ignore how insane the engineering bay in this ship is. I think we'll see a shot of that in the next video. Look at how many decks there are here, because these half decks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the entrance 8 on the bottom. Like, holy crap. This is a thick boy.
all the pathways in this ship, and I feel like I'm banging this drum, but again, we did a lot of work on pathways and navigation, and so you can, you know, as a trader, you're locked off to a certain route. As a crew, you've got access to everywhere, but as a trader, you're like, okay, well, you've got these areas you can get to. You can come in from the docking collar, and there's 2 different docking collars. You know, there's
the larger
ship
one on
to
one
ship
side
and ship to station,
Yeah.
and then that funnels you into the marketplace, and then you can go back down through the flipper or vice versa, the fuel scoop. And so, you know, in terms of what's changed, you know, we've had to create space for the cargo. You know, the hangar for the Defender, that was a massive one. So a lot of just shifting the internals around. You know, there's 2 elevators in this. There's one for crew. There's one for traders. Again,
I think that kind
All right, let's see. I got a couple questions in chat about the... How big's that booty? What can you store inside of it? 2,800 SCU. 2,900 basically SCU. Yeah.
kind of like builds on the experience of someone coming to buy stuff there, though, and to me that's kind of like part of the lure of the ship is that, you know, like you say, the crew have their own everything
Yeah,
set, but
yeah.
the kind of like the people that are coming to spend money, that experience is like the kind of like one of the core elements of that ship. That's what makes it kind of so
Yeah.
special.
A different experience to
Yeah.
coming on board it that way versus living on board it and
Yeah, totally.
working on board.
And so we'll see here that these are like previs images. These are straight out of 3D Studio Max with a bit of Photoshop magic. But it's just giving you an idea of that going up the fuel scoop or the market entrance. You know, you'll have the awnings all folded out. It should be a real grand experience. Will we have red
I
carpet?
kind of like, I don't know why in my head it's like Aladdin's cave. Do you know what I mean? That's what
totally.
it kind of.
And we had some reference images as well.
Oh, okay.
For the marketplace, and so here you've walked up, and you're again. This is always in this concept theory has always been this tree of life essentially. So basically, you enter at the base of the tree, and then it forms the spine, and then that tree branches out and basically reaches to the front of the ship. That's the theory. That's always been this organic theory.
The same in the Defender. You come in the Defender up the ramp.
Yes.
And then you have that big central tree which houses components, and then that stretches out and back around to form.
So the line work in this is a little more sort of refined. It has gone less organic compared to the Defender. We've kind of gone for a slightly less alien.
Yeah, basically Wickelow's ship station, but in a ship. But imagine if they had dropped Wickelow in this ship. They had just been working on it in the background, not telling anybody, not hyping it up at all. 4.1 comes around and they're like, yeah, we got this new guy, Wickelow, you can trade in stuff, and we're going to plant him into the Stanton system. And then the first people go and find him, and he's in a freaking merchantman. Oh, the whole community would have broken. Just out of proximity of being close to the 5% of the 1% who actually care about the ship and how much they're freaking out.
feeling.
Yeah.
Just to
like doesn't feel like it's actually a tree that has grown and they built the ship around this kind of organic thing. It is a ship.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here is a capture from 3D Studio Max, just so it's super clear. Like this is the lower floor. So the marketplace is split into 2 floors, 8 shops on each floor.
Yeah. Or is it?
No, sorry, 4
shops.
shops.
4
on
shops
each
on each
floor.
one, 8 total.
And then you have this little walkway that sort of goes over the top. You can kind of see here, obviously, we've got a flying jellyfish.
All right, now we're getting the
Well,
pretty
the
pics.
theory is that there'll be a holographic display, and hopefully the captain can choose what's on there.
Yeah.
Special offer for the day.
Could be special offer. Could show a weapon. Could just have like butterflies flying around, whatever. But this really gives you a vibe of the complexity of the Banu sort of folded metal, that organicness.
No, I would say it's probably more than 1%.
Overall experience.
I'm just talking out my ass.
Yes. And that Aladdin's cave.
Yeah.
You've got the little jewels hanging off the.
I really like
tops.
those though, the kind of like the treatment of light in a lot of the concepts. I don't know, I'm stealing your thunder from
No, that's
future
fine,
thing, yeah. But the sort of these jewels and stones that are kind of going to be used as light source throughout the ship, and I think that's kind of like really nice.
I think that-
Just something a bit different,
Different fluorescent tube.
LED lights or
Yeah, and so we really sort of pushed on that on this one, and so here is like, the
Ooh. I love how open this is, but I do feel like once we got into the game, it wouldn't be this wide. There wouldn't be this much space. Although they specifically mention that when they talk about the ships, that there's a lot of space in Banu ships. So maybe they would hit that. But this doesn't even look like the inside of a spaceship. This looks like a alien apartment complex. Like a really high luxury alien apartment complex. Yeah. You know the kind. The ones that have annoying non-key entrances on all the doors that you have to use, even though you want to use your key. Thank you to I think Brig. Put a little bit towards the computer repair fund. Really appreciate it, buddy. It's going to a good cause.
there's basically, as part of the tree of life in the marketplace, is the elevator shaft, and so you can then go up there into the negotiation room, which was in the original.
One of the images that everyone remembers from the original concept was that room with the table and looking out over the cargo.
And so we've kind of kept that, and we'll come to that in a second. But before you get there, you come out of the elevator and you're sort of in a central corridor, which also leads to guests' habitation rooms.
In lore, these trades often take a long amount of time, so there was a lot of back and forth with the narrative team on this ship in particular, with how do Banu trade, how do they eat, how do they, because for the Defender it was a very small scale.
Everybody's wondering, they all want to know, how do they poop?
So these trades can take days, weeks, maybe months, so the people that are coming on board to trade need a place to stay whilst
and it's not like the people that are going to be kind of flying this, they don't have in my head they don't have like a base of operations, like this is their home. So like you say, if you're trading I guess some of these things could be their livelihood. They're trading these really expensive high-end items, and that's kind of.
And you want them to feel special, like the thing about this always has been that making the people feel that they're in something quite unique. And so you can see here, in this image we've got massive gemstones that could be.
I love what I'm seeing here. I really do. But there's definitely, I think, a lot of value in this on the RP side of things. And it brings up a good question. Where does quote unquote RP start? And where does just like the atmosphere of the game end? I say this has RP elements to it, but it's just a table where people would do negotiations. The only reason I'm saying it has RP feeling to it is because of the way that it's themed. So, like, does it make sense for us to have a table for negotiations in this game? It kind of reminds me of also having a brig on on these spaceships. Not necessarily just a brig, but like a brig with like a waiting chair in the middle of the brig for somebody to be sitting there for other people to come through. I kind of get it, and I could see how it could fit into the gameplay, but at the same time, I also feel like it would be a little bit of a stretch to say all of this is strictly useful and not kind of sight dressing in ornate ways, in functional ways. Like, you can still use them, but they're mainly just there to feed your eyes. And they could be used a lot for, there's a good point, Star Alpha said, narrative missions. Every single spaceship is a ship that NPCs will be flying. So if they're, if you need to be sent on a mission to go take over a spaceship, you would technically be showing up on a ship where the people would be using these stations. One of my favorite concepts for this game was always the idea that you could sign up for like a long-term mission contract, and it would basically just put you on a javelin, and you could pick what you wanted to do on that javelin, and it would be completely NPC controlled, AI controlled. You'd just be out in the middle of space going through space battles and stuff, and you could decide if you wanted to be a turret gunner, an engineer, whatever. It doesn't have to be multiplayer, but you still get to be crew. Who knows if that'll ever happen, but like for something like that, this stuff all kind of makes sense. So I get that. I do get that. I hope we see this be functional parts of the game, stuff like this. It'd be better if the cabinets and other things in ships were actually functional. Yeah, hopefully soon. 90% NPC to the 10% entire player base. They need to touch back on that. I would really appreciate if they talked about that again some point soon. Y'all making bets in chat? This is not endorsed by this stream or Space Tomato Gaming.
Whatever, but in terms of lighting opportunities, you'll have the core sticks and the light, if they're rotating. There's a lot of cool opportunities. And so here is the conference room, which we just mentioned. In the original concept, it was smaller, a lot more compact, but obviously the ship has got bigger and therefore we've got more space. But also, it's a display of wealth, right? If you can afford to waste a bit of space, essentially, if you could be like,
yeah, see, there he is.
To pack it with everything, just got to make this nice player experience where
he's talking to you, RSI lovers.
Feel sort of relaxed, and so that's kind of what we've been pushing with. So there's a lot of commonality that we've taken from the original and fed into this, but then also pushing further. So again, you can see the sort of like carved gemstones inlaid with more gemstones, inlaid
at least
with
get a carpet
gold. And so again, in terms of player experience, it's going to be totally different to anything that's happened. And we've still kept that viewpoint looking into the hangar, so
the cargo bay.
Sorry, into the cargo bay. And so it's been quite a tussle trying to get everything into place. And then this is an example of one of the hubs for like if you're doing long-term trading. And then
Paul Jones is notorious for talking very softly. He always talks like that. Hey, I didn't say I'm against subs. I just said I am not endorsing gambling here in this moment amongst individuals who have arrived for educational purposes. Share and learn from one another. Good choices, right?
And this is really sort of based on, again, keeping with the organic theme, the Banu shapes, but pushing.
Right, Waffle, you make a really good point. Yeah, the 10 to 90% was AI to player, not NPC to player.
Different palette and materials, and so it's kind of based off of the interior of a Nautilus shell. And so you can't really tell from here, but actually it circles back on itself. So there's a little internal wall there that you go behind, and that's where toilet and shower and all that sort of stuff is. And then you've got the bed in the back, and then you've got lockers and a little seating area. So you kind of like a real sort of organic journey. So again, just pushing on leveraging that Xi'an tech as well, so the chairs and the desk and even the lights are just sort of held in space. So quite different. And so that's where the traders go, but the crew, obviously has got access to the full ship, and so
Slightly less grandiose, but not.
yeah. So the docking cargo, that docking corridor is still quite elaborate, but
That's going to be shared between.
yeah, it's more of a shared space. There's some more technical elements in there in terms of
Gross.
venting and stuff,
Shared.
and we still want to, this has always been a theory of you've got your superstructure, then you've got your tech, and then you've got your layering of the bodywork, the cladding, yeah. And then there'll be areas where the sort of tech is revealed and stuff, and so by balancing those two, the proportions, you can kind of like alter the feel of the space, and so I mean it's going to be a journey for you guys of like how we achieve all this, but this is the corridor leading to the marketplace from the docking area. And
dude, this looks like it would be an amazing mission location in any sci-fi RPG, and this is just one ship. The absolute potential of this game, it's unbelievable. Every single one of these ships can be a set piece somewhere if they can just figure out how to have the contracts meet the locations procedurally, repetitively, in a bunch of different servers. Man, this would be such a sick atmosphere to move through on like an assassination mission or something, planting evidence or something. I don't know.
Or leading to the marketplace from the docking area, and so you've got that great big green ring, which kind of sort of that we kind of put that there and kind of thinking of it shows green when it's safe.
Yeah.
The docking. There's not some kind of a ventage
actually,
going on.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with the team this week actually about that exact thing, about kind of communicating to the player, but not in just as simple as something flashing on a screen or whatever else, but just having something a little bit more elegant.
So I think again this will give you some really good opportunities, and again it's just the new materials, the folds, and moving on to the habitation section where sort of crew can go. People who are familiar with the Defender will really sort of see the sort of common thread here. So, the amount of gold and shiny stuff, to put it bluntly, is reduced. And so it goes to more matte materials. It's a little less display of wealth. It's a little more functional, but still got that 3D printed.
You get a lot of that sort of like layering in here as well, aren't you?
Yeah. And that in the middle is
These chairs look incredibly uncomfortable.
Magic tagine.
Yeah.
Ultimately, so it's fed from underneath, and you choose what you want, and then it appears, and the top comes off, and you get your food out.
Yeah.
And you get your cutlery.
You can speak to narrative for a while about sort of how our aliens eat. That could be a whole talk in itself, I feel.
It's a tricky one because it's an alien, it's a Banu ship, but it's got to support humans operating it.
Short humans.
If you had an entirely Banu crew, if you were playing as a Banu, then some aspects of this you don't need, but as humans you do.
The Banu they cater for both, don't they?
Yeah. And so a lot of complex stuff to sort of get our heads around. Engineering. This is a work in progress shot.
Dude, that's such a wild engineering. What the hell, man? It kind of, I do get vibes of, I think, a Mass Effect 3, maybe? A little bit. They had like a gigantic thing in the middle like this, and a little stairway, walkway through the middle. This looks incredible, though. The colors, obviously, it's that orange and blue that'll really get you, but just like the curves in this, the way the lighting interacts with the architecture.
Engineering. This is a work in progress shot.
It's one of my favourite bits, though. I really like this.
And you can't really tell from this shot, but it's essentially set over 3 levels. You've got that main middle level, and you can sort of get on mini lifts to drop down to components or walk up the stairs to some elevated stuff. But essentially this is leading to the main central engine, and that is like sort of counter rotating all those elements, and so you get this awesome shadow play basically going on in the room, like really sort of cinematic.
Looks extremely cool in motion. Just
And if we can tie it to either were you talking about tying it to damage or the state of the
It sounds
the
like a good
engine?
idea, so I'm going to say yes.
So you know, if the engine's malfunctioning and it's sort of slowing
Yeah.
down and stuff, that'd be kind of cool.
I'll claim that one.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure it was, but it's fine.
And then, you know, in terms of the cargo space, what we're looking at here is like the 32 SCU sort of cargo boxes.
These are the big cargo containers that you see in all the rest stops and the cargo.
Hey, talk
boxes.
like it's already done.
Like the modern day big cargo
containers.
shipping containers.
Yeah.
They're quite hefty, and you certainly can't pick them up by yourself, and you can't really do it with handheld tractor beams. You need something big.
Yes.
See, now, they say stuff like that, but when that actually comes around, it's impossible to come back and find that sort of a reference. But they literally will tell you can't pick these up with handheld tractor beams, but then they make that update years later. And people are like, hold on, why are they doing this?
And so we've got a hefty a moving mechanism in there at the moment, which you can control from this position that you can see in the screenshot. And so that'll be something else to work out, Ben. But
Something else to work out, John.
but you know, it will be a really cool area, and sort of just below you, that's basically where the sort of the loading platform is.
Yeah, because it moves the cargo containers into that space, and then that
Yes, and then it
space
drops it
kind of drops
down.
down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there will be that sort of like, oh, I need the bottom one on the third stack.
Yes,
All right, okay,
yeah.
let's shift everything out and.
There is that sort of mini game of Jenga almost with how you're gonna access stuff,
Yeah.
and all the time you'll be able to see from the negotiation room
The
into
poor
the-
guy moving it around, just
Yeah.
don't mess it up. But yeah, as a result of all those changes, the cargo capacity has gone down a little. I think it was a nebulous number to start with that had never really been proved
Still
out.
pretty
It's still
big.
big. So
Yeah.
it's around 2,800, which is not a small amount of cargo by any means.
Yeah.
So it's still well above most ships, but until you get to the hull series,
I was going to say, I can't remember what our whole series.
the hull is over 3,000, so it's
Well, but still, yeah.
it's a lot,
Plenty.
but maybe not quite as much as people were hoping for originally.
Although I think
It looks
maybe
pretty though.
It does.
a
It's
lot
so
of
much cargo.
but you're gaining so much more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
it's always a give and take with these things. Of
What are the odds of Banu
could
Merchantmen
make
in Alien
every
Week?
ship.
Asking the important question here. It is a prominent and profound 0. That is the most 0 that anything probably has ever been in Star Citizen. Besides the game being complete.
Ships do everything, but then
Mhm.
they just become
Yeah.
these humongous vessels. So it's always a trade.
So moving now up to the bridge area, and what we're looking at here is very much work in progress. I mean, we are literally working on this right now in the sort of top.
Look at this
left,
thing.
To think then is
Dude, this is incredible looking.
an image that we created sort of on round 2, and we're sort of leveraging that heavily. So a lot of those shapes will appear into this new stuff, but in this new sort of configuration.
Honestly, just looking at this like a mid-size, like a Star Lancer sized Banu ship, it would probably be one of, if not the most beautiful ship in the game. This architecture, I'm not really crazy about organic looking ships, but it looks really good.
You were able to access the bridge, but you were also able to access the remote, not the man turret. It's more of an experience, and then also you've got side corridors which leads you to.
It's got a special name though.
It's like it's not a meditation room. I can't remember the name of it.
There was a approved name, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I can't think what it is.
It's kind of like a sort of sacred space where sort of the Banu can sort of pay. You know, we've kind of got sort of equivalent of prayer wheels. That's kind of the theory. this nice little calm space. So that's been quite fun. So there's
Right to
a
the
lot
commerce gods.
a lot of the areas on this ship are very sort of multi-threaded. You know, you often have your central area and then stuff coming off it. So like I said, there's been a lot lot of thought given to navigation, and in this area also are two lifts which also can take you quickly to other areas from this bridge.
It's an 8-person crew now, so there's space for 4 on the bridge. Obviously, there's 4 stations there. You have 1 person that can go to the manned turrets towards the rear, 1 person that can fly the defender, and that leaves 2 to deal with everything else whilst you're flying around, because you can still trade whilst flying around, but it's probably not the wisest of ideas if the person who's come on board to trade has left their ship behind. So
I mean, it might be good for negotiations.
Yeah, it's good for negotiations.
Yeah.
But that 8 crew can then fill the 8 shops if you're just landed on a planet somewhere. You pull double duty. You don't need to be flying if you landed. You can man your shop, or you can let 1 person do double duty in shops.
Yep. This is an example, well, a full-size image of that round 2 concept of the bridge, and again you can see the sort of the superstructure and all the layering basically. So you know we have changed the configuration since this image, but a lot of that theory is going to get transposed onto this new one. Same with the materials, and again just continuing with that flow of from back to front, basically, always sort of this tree of life and going to the nose of the ship.
By the time people see this, we'll have actually had someone start start working on it. So it's actually in production now after all these years.
Yeah.
You hear that, guys?
So. This is actually one of the ships that I'm
production.
Really kind of playing with in game. It's just such a kind of, like I say, it's got that kind of full trading experience, but it feels like a proper home that you can live on, and it's got a load of weaponry as well, which
if in doubt, then just get the guns out.
You will buy it.
You will buy it. So that was the Merchantman. Pretty cool.
All right, that was a huge freaking update, but guys, it doesn't end there. That was 2021, right? We've been working our way through the years 18, 19, 20, 21. Now to jump forward to fall of, wait a second. Wow. Okay. This is like just a couple months later. And I think... yeah, just a couple months later, we got some updates in the engine. White box, it looks like.
We showcased the updated concepts for the Banu Merchantman at this year's CitizenCon.
Come on, let me have full quality.
White box with this highly anticipated first image. Hey, everything starts somewhere. She may not look.
So this is the very first look. We had just seen all the concept work, right? This was their actual first work in getting it modeled in game.
Like much, but she's got it where it counts. And you're gonna stuff. Follow.
And honestly, I think this shows a decent idea of how much their white box has changed over the years, because you guys see white box videos, vehicles, and ships now, and they look a lot better than that.
Along with it from the very beginning of its journey from this point forward. So what did we learn this week?
All right, so that was a quick update. White box. Thank you very much. Mihai, my man, Mihai. Thank you, dude. Thank you so much for the 10 subs over on Twitch. Really appreciate you, buddy. How you been this week? Good evening to you, friend. Let's see. So, I think, is this... okay. Yeah, this is a pretty big update on it too. So this is spring of 2022, everybody. Remember, we just got through fall of 2021. They had these huge talks. First white box look. And then we get to this. Now they have an entire Inside Star Citizen dedicated to the Merchantman. We're going to go through this. It's a long, deep dive, folks. But so is the development of the Manu Merchantman. Turkish heat already taken a toll on my hair. Dude, the haircut has been lovely over here. Thanks for noticing. I quite like it.
I think my favorite alien species in Star Citizen, if I had to pick one, if I had to, I love them all. Yeah, I have a deep fondness for the Banu.
Like the visual architecture.
They just seem like kind of cool critical thinkers.
The Xi'an I'm closest to mentally, meaning I know more about them than all of the others.
They're like the chill, relaxed ones.
Even though they're so friendly, they look like they can pack a punch, you know.
I don't understand. Why can't I just
in that process? Ben, we know the Banu Merchantman has been in development for a while.
That's on before.
Oh, now you get to see some of the early concept images too.
Interior. Let's find out more.
I think when tackling a ship that's got so many unknowns about it,
all right,
it's a completely new art style, or it's
Let me just shut down my entire browser here real quick. And try this again.
In that process. Ben, we know the Banu Merchantman has been in development for a while, then it's not in development. Set this up for us. Where are we at overall in this development?
This is crazy, man. What the heck do I have to do to just be able to see full quality? I already pay you money, YouTube.
The exterior is going through its grey box pass. So it's looking a little bit more advanced than the interior of the ship that we'll see in a bit. We've basically got 2 artists on it, and we kind of chop the ship up into different parts that they can work on. And we're just going through and making sure that everything that needs to fit in the ship is going to fit in the ship.
And it's worth noting that this is a landmark ship for Star Citizen. This is one of the biggest ships of its kind. It's got entirely new purposes with the shops and everything inside. It's pushing an alien race into a new size and scale that we've never done with any of the other ships outside of Squadron 42. There is a lot to this ship. So with that, let's jump on in and start with the exterior.
This got made fun of so much just because these angles and the way that the lenses in this builder makes it look kind of goofy, like a duck bill here. But we were so in the thick of marketing for this ship at this point.
So we've got the entire front with its hidden weapons that come out from there for the pilot control. It's dual docking collars, one on either side.
But they went from white box to gray box in like 6-7 months here. So they were working through it.
It's wings with the new animation designs for them, for how they're actually going to deploy. As you can see, there's a lot of detailing on the wing section, a very elaborate and almost elegant design on it, because at the end of the day, this is something they use as a trademark to show how wealthy they are and well they're doing as a trader.
That's a lot of detail, even for gray box phase.
Yeah, it's a new art style. We've done the Defender, obviously, but for the UK team, it's a kind of new art style, and also the Defender is vastly smaller in terms of its size. There's our normal kind of approach to how we kind of layer in the details has needed a bit of kind of alteration. And we've had to kind of think about how we're going to bring in some of those smaller scale elements to give a better sense of size and scale. Because when you zoom out from this ship, you still want it to feel huge, and it deserves to feel huge. It is absolutely monstrous. So I think we've had to spend a bit more time working out how we're going to add detail to it. There's still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of the finer details to be added. Because that does impact in how we model the ship, how we make the ship. So yeah, it's been a fun challenge for the artist so far.
I understand there was a recent change to the animations.
Yep, I'll have to go get in.
Oh,
they were very quick.
Oh, the animation is nowhere near final. It was just to make sure we got it in.
I think it's a fair disclaimer for this. Absolutely no part of what you're seeing today.
Yep,
it's fine.
I was like, I remember seeing the.
It looks better than the folding wings.
And they were a little bit felt a bit weightier and a bit sleeker than that. But yeah, there is some kind of subtle movement where panels open up and they allow for the kind of like the rest of the wings to slide in. And as with everything we do, we make sure that there's not space magic going on. Things actually kind of fit and function as they should. So yeah, it gives a few more challenges, but I think the end result is a much nicer kind of silhouette when you see this thing parked.
Let's move inside. Let's start with the bridge since we're already there.
Okay, so the interior of the ship, like I say, is the main. Like you're going to see now, is mainly in kind of white box. The concept mesh gave us like a really good starting point. As always with concept meshes, we had to do a fair amount of kind of optimizations and remodeling to kind of get it to the point where we can get it into engine and kind of start walking around it. The bridge is I'm trying not to say the same thing for every area. It's massive, and you can just any area of the ship you go into, just know that in the back of my head I'm thinking it's huge. We've obviously got the kind of like the 4 control seats. Mark, do you want to talk through the different functionality stations? Yeah.
So as ever, the Banu don't have captains. They're a very family communal sort of unit, so it didn't make sense to have a primary captain station.
Everyone's the
bridge
captain.
section. In reality,
They all get to take turns saying that line. I'm the captain now. Okay, now your turn. Yeah, I'm the captain now. All right, now your turn. Yay!
I think would be
Family.
relatively even.
Family.
So we have the pilot seat and control.
Vin Diesel comes out of nowhere.
Which obviously with a ship this scale, it's very difficult to get a good view from the pilot seat, to get a good view of what's actually happening. So a lot of the animations need to be very alien so that you can get the pilot into a good position so they'd be able to see what they're doing. So we use a lot of Zion tech which lift things up through gravity so they can get this fantastic view out the front so you can see where you're actually going. So you've got your primary pilot seat. Then to the right of them, you have your co-pilot seat. Then 2 stations behind are for the large remote turrets that the ship has for defense. So if you ever need it, people can quickly jump into these seats and get into the action to try and defend you from whatever's happening if it's coming up behind or the sides. Obviously, if it's coming on front, the pilot has more than enough means to be able to deal with it themselves.
And if your instinct was to stop the YouTube video and go immediately to comments and say it's pronounced Shion, Mark, get a better hobby.
I'll say you'd be correct.
Better know.
Directly behind the bridge where the actual operations occur, you have some basic features for if stuff goes wrong. So you have some suit lockers to put emergency suits in, because obviously they're not going to want to go around in their day-to-day lives wearing their spacesuit all the time. But if something goes wrong, they do want them to hand. So next to the actual escape pods, you have your suit lockers to quickly get suited and booted, and then be able to get into your escape pod and get out of there if you need to. So they have one on either side.
I just realized I probably shouldn't leave that there.
One for each of the actual crew that would be on the bridge, as well as a couple of extra, because leading a little further down, we actually have the more habitation side of the ship, but we'll get to that when we get there. Directly behind, we also have the entryway to get inside the main man turret.
This is kind of one of the rooms that we spent a bit of time kind of playing with in white box and making sure we got it right. We really wanted this to kind of feel,
Why does this turret entrance look like Magneto's room in X-Men? This whole room for a turret? This should be a movie theater. You should be able to watch stuff in here. This is crazy.
And making sure we got it right. We really wanted this to kind of feel, like quite a moment walking into it.
Yeah.
Go on, Jared.
No.
Okay.
Even in gray box, this is quite a moment here.
Yeah, there was some really nice bits in the kind of concept where you had these kind of like these like lit walls, and we tried to kind of pull some of that into, and I think it's almost having that kind of moment of like solitude before you kind of get yoinked up into battle.
Oh yeah, Magneto's the other guy. I was thinking of Charles.
So it's quite a lonely area of the ship. Everywhere else on the ship kind of feels like it's built for like Mark was saying, like the family. Whereas this is kind of very purposeful. You know what you're getting into as soon as you walk in that room.
And obviously the exterior shell there, when all said and done, would open up and reveal you to the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
So an interesting thing about the turret, because it's probably something people are going to be curious about, is how it actually works, because there's no big arm there behind it or anything like that. once again, it's using alien technology that's keeping it up in place, which is what the plinth is for behind it. And there's an air shield that will be going around the top of here so that when you actually enter the turret, you're not venting the entirety of the room. Obviously, that does mean that people could try and sneak onto your ship, but while your turret's manned, that might not be the safest thing for them to do.
I love that Xi'an Fight of the Navigator tech.
Moving down from the actual bridge area, we then move into the sanctuary. So the Banu are known for being very multicultural when it comes to their religious beliefs. So they have a entire area dedicated to worship, to fortune, to hoping that things are going to go well for them or that the next trade deal is going to be a good one. So this is sort of at the end of the Tree of Life, which is how the entire ship's built around. And it makes sense for it to be at the end of the tree because it's where everything comes out from. So it was important to keep that feel that it runs through the root of the ship. Going off the side of the sanctuary area, we have the med bay, something that people are very curious about where it actually was. It's just off to the side, just behind the bridge, just near where all of the actual habitation is. You have a primary medical care bed, which will do your day-to-day actual healing, and then you have recovery beds similar to the ones we have on the Carrack. Now, rather than just being a bed, decided to try something a little different. It's now these pools of healing gel that you lie in
Goop,
just to
dude.
recover
It's
from
goop.
any.
You guys put goop on the ground for us to splat into. Would these walls give you that feeling? Does anybody have that thing, that phobia, trachiophobia, trachiophobia, fear of holes next to each other everywhere? Because I don't know if this looks. It's just gray box.
Significant operation that you had.
Yeah, I think this was again an excuse to kind of just push the ship away from what we're used to seeing. So originally we had like the 3 beds lined up in here, and it was functional. It was it still looked good. It was just like, it'd be really nice if these if you had your operation and then you just sink down into that recovery pool and
I am drippings with goo.
Yeah, exactly.
Secretly tucked behind the actual medical section is where the actual medical officer would work. So it's his main station, as well as storage supplies for whatever medical supplies that he needs. Obviously, at the moment, it's just the back of the bed, but it's where you'd do refills on the bed or anything else that you'd need to do. Obviously, the doors across the entire ship are very alien in appearance.
Super alien,
so
look at that.
They make sense, but at the same time, like
Ooh.
It was very important that going across this to make everything make sense to the human eye, but at the same time be so different. So you immediately recognize it as a door, but once it starts actually animating and doing something, it feels completely alien. And even doing the general design of the ship, it was important to keep that consistent, something that is easily recognizable, but also completely different to what people expect. Moving on from the shrine area, we move into the recreation and social habitation area. So you've got your food maker, along with areas to actually eat, as well as the actual social area. So people can sit around, talk, plan stuff out.
And I think one of the things that we try to tackle here is obviously we have very strict metrics for our human characters, and the Banu as a race are generally a bit taller, a bit larger. So there's that kind of balance between making things work for both scales of character and making sure that we don't end up with let's say like the child in the scene. I remember we brought it up in one of the update meetings, and the consensus was, well, this is a Banu ship, and whilst they support all the other races that we have in our universe, ultimately it's their ship, and so things should be made to their scale.
Directly off the habitation area, we have a secondary control for the hangar section. So if someone needs to actually be allowed to enter into the hangar, you have a separate control room to allow you to open up the hangar doors to permit the additional ship to come in.
Holy crap.
Once again, it's standard doors, but the whole animation,
like the
all of it's very
whole roof.
alien.
And obviously, when we get to kind of final art, we'll dress this up so there does look to be some functionality there, because we don't want it all to be space magic. it still needs to feel like there is kind of mechanisms there that are supporting these things lifting and being able to kind of hover and float.
Coming off the habitation area, we have 2 staff lifts. So these ones would be specifically for the staff to allow them to move around the ship a lot easier. We'll come back to them later because there's a better point to show them, but they just give you more access just because of the size of the ship. We needed to have multiple ways to get up and down. Otherwise, if you want to get from one part to another, you'd have to run the entire length of the ship, go down the floor to run the entire length again. So we added multiple ways to move up and down between the ship. So at the rear here, we have the we have the crew specific lift. This has access to all of the floors, unlike the customer lift. This is the passenger entrance area. So the lift will go to this floor for all of the passengers, which then gives them a little foyer area before they enter whatever floor they're on.
Your Bioshock. Oh,
You have the meeting
that
area.
was fun.
So this is the conference room where important delegates would come to discuss significant trade negotiations rather than
the
I'm
delegates.
going buying a power plant, I'm going to buy fuel. This is where serious conversations and serious negotiations go.
Be right back.
Yeah,
You
this
guys
has
keep
got
enjoying.
a really nice view out over the like cargo hold as well, doesn't it?
Yep. To the side of the actual meeting and delegation room, we have the VIP suites. So obviously your VIP delegates are going to want something a bit nicer, a bit more special when it comes to where they're resting. So they have their own private chambers so that they can rest and relax and freshen up before they actually go do any significant meetings.
And again, this sort of room highlights a lot of the I guess the shape language and the difficulties on the ship is that everything's curved, everything flows, and there is that kind of like real kind of like leading shapes that kind of like lead you through the ship, as opposed to what we're so used to on a lot of our human manufactured ships, whereas everything's hard and angled and flat. Really, the only thing in this ship that's flat is the floor.
So the negotiation table has one seat at the top for the actual mediator, which obviously would be a member of the crew, and then even number seats on either side for the delegates to have their discussions. From the actual meeting room, you get a fantastic view of the cargo hold, where all of your goods would actually be stored. As you can see, the amount of cargo that the ship holds is colossal.
Yeah, this is stupid.
And just
look at how high these boxes are, dude. You know what this reminds me of is that that scene in the Harry Potter movies where they're running through like the Ministry of Magic's vault with the stuff on either side, and it's super tall.
The sheer volume of it gives you this cavernous, cathedral-like view of being stuck in the rafters of a warehouse worth of stock.
Yeah, it gives you a real sense of how tall the ship actually is. When we get to the market, you kind of get a glimpse at that, but it's not until you get into somewhere like this that spans the whole, or not even the whole height. You've got the hangar above the height of this, how big the ship actually is.
Well, we're not going to be able to go through every single room and nook and cranny today. This is too big a ship. So let's go to the market now and take a look at that.
How are you to manage
So I
this?
think,
Don't use. You definitely don't use one SCU boxes. That's for sure. Use 32s. That's what they were talking about in the other video. 32 SCU boxes make more sense in this. I think they just put this in here for the sheer ridiculousness of it. And I don't think they had 32 SCU boxes in the engine back then.
Well, we're not going to be able to go through every single room and nook and cranny today. This is too big a ship. So let's go to the market now and take a look at that.
So I think this is what a lot of the kind of customers are going to see when they first walk into the ship, is this sort of like reveal of the market area. And what we tried to do in this area is kind of everywhere you walk into it, you're kind of walking through a small tunnel or quite a tight space, so that when you kind of do walk into it, it does then open up and you can see that sort of like that grandeur and that height of the ship. And this is only 2 out of, I think it's 5 or 6 floors at this point of the part of the ship you're in. But I think
this is a very cool room. Every other room in this game that has like 2 decks like this in a ship is super minimal, but this looks like an atrium. I love that.
It's just a nice kind of like reveal of the overall kind of again, just repeating that size and that verticality that we see in the other areas of the ship. I think we've already shown a lot of the concept art of this area already. But the idea here is that you've got this, hollow in the middle that will kind of, will allow the traders to kind of show off some of their items that might not fit in the shops or might be, too valuable to place in the shops. So yeah, it's a very exciting area of the ship, this part. Okay, and the last area we want to show you today is kind of the area that we spent a little bit more time on. It's a little bit further along. We tried to take some areas and push their visuals, so we've got a good understanding of how much work's involved and what the kind of like the final ship is actually going to look like, because it is such a large.
This is pretty far along. I don't know how functional this is, but at least art-wise, this is pretty far along.
Ship, and there's going to be a lot of people ultimately working on it. I think it's good to have that kind of key area that you can kind of refer to as this is what the merchantman's all about. And whilst each area of the ship will have its own feel, will have its own kind of style and in its own forms, I think this is a good indication of the kind of elegance. And if you imagine this is the crew area and the guest area is going to be a level above this, I think it gives you a good idea of what we're aiming for.
The other thing is with the Banu, they're very communal in how they actually live their lives. So it didn't make sense to have separate quarters or separate captain's quarters, because that's just not how they live. And getting the social pit for them to be able to sit around and talk and relax and socialize, it was an important thing to make sure that we got in. The space needed to feel fine and elegant, but also homely.
And that's pretty much where we're up to with the Banu Merchantman at the moment. This is kind of as hot off the press as it comes. There's a lot of areas of the ship we've not shown yet. We're really happy with the progress we've made so far, but at the moment we are kind of at that point where we've got a skeleton crew just kind of working out everything that we need to get done to deliver the ship. When time permits, we'll be able to ramp that up and bring on more of the team to kind of get through the amount of work that's involved.
When time permits.
Super excited with where it's up to. I think it's going to be one of those that kind of stand out, one of those hallmark ships that kind of defines what Star Citizen is. It shows that there's more to our universe than single-seater fighters and the likes.
Man, it all stings a little bit more in retrospect, doesn't it? So that was the real big update that they did on the ship before what we're about to see next. But before we do get to the last update on the Merchantman, and we listen to them talk about where the heck this ship is after all these updates back then, I do want to highlight in the last CitizenCon how they kind of showed the first step towards the Banu Merchantman. Listen to this.
Crafting and base building the game as a whole. Understandably, throughout this presentation, we've been telling you why you want to craft all these things or why you want to build this big base. But maybe you don't have the time to build a big base and maintain it. Maybe you want to spend your time doing the missions, you want to do your beacons, that's how you want to make your credits instead. Shops mean that you can benefit from the players who do want to spend the time making those bases or crafting those specialist items, and then you can purchase them from them, which is very important because crafted items using high quality materials will be the most powerful in the game. On the flip side, if you do specialize, maybe you end up cornering the markets for a particular item or resource, and your shop will then turn into a hotspot of activity, making you loads of credits. Some of you will become infamous because of it. But bear in mind, a successful shop also depends on location. Do you want your customers on edge in Pyro, which tends to have the higher quality materials? Or do you want to spend time hauling them all the way over to safer systems where your customers can be more at peace? We've talked about selling. You can link these to your freight elevators, and in turn, any items within can be listed for sale at a price you deem reasonable. This includes resources, refined materials, and so on. Using the terminal, visiting players can browse what's on offer, purchase, and then collect from that same freight elevator. The second method is to set up a physical shop in the world. By using the decorator AR we saw earlier with Luke, you can maglock items and then list them for sale. Once again, browsing players, they can see the price of the maglocked item, purchase it, which then removes the maglock.
So that would be obviously something that needs to happen before the merchantman. And it was what, 2020 or so, 2021, when they started to kind of admit that they didn't want to put stuff in the game if it didn't have gameplay that made it make sense. So it is weird that they chose to push this so hard in 2022. Because as we're about to, I mean, they say one reason for why the vehicle didn't ship, but I genuinely think that if they had done it before we got player shops, which they're just now starting to design, we would have just had another reclaimer situation. Going at a kebab? What? Oh, why did we go to Turkey? My wife's from here. Mrs. Tomato. You skipped the 3-story engine room. Did I? Did I miss something? Did I miss one? Inside the merchantman, that's what we just watched. Weird Science, that was the Defender one. You're sorry, they just feel like words, not too much more. There's no guarantee this will be in the game, anything like said. They've changed their mind so many times. Hey man, you don't have to apologize to me. I'm shooting this whole thing to show how ridiculous the production cycle of this ship was. You don't have to believe anything about what they're saying. Because yeah, they do change their minds quite a bit. Although the base building stuff from last CitizenCon is at least just last CitizenCon. All right. Now we jump forward to, I believe it is CitizenCon 2022, where we finally get the update on the Banu Merchantman. Great test bed for player shops, honestly. It would get them the tech ready in advance for base building. It would have, since they seem all in on bases now. I think they'll go on bases first, actually, to do it. But I do agree, the Merchantman, but even more the Kraken Privateer would have been great to test all that out on. You know what? I might have this wrong. I think it was actually 23. Did they just go quiet on the Banu Merchantman for the rest of 2022? Did we not hear about this ship for a year and a half? Holy crap, is that correct?
Most well known is the Banu Merchantman. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. I guess I must have been looking at this recently. So here we're going to listen to them talk a little bit about why the Banu Merchantman is not still here.
So,
and then we're going to see the very last update they have for the ship. I don't know why we didn't hear anything for the rest of 2022. Oh my gosh, I freaking forgot that. That's awful. Hap! Yo, my friend Hap over on YouTube dropping 20 memberships for the people. Give a shout if you just got gifted a membership. And go check out the latest exclusive video. I think some people are really going to hate it. Thank you for supporting the channel like that, Hap. Really appreciate you. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Come on.
For those of you that are trying to include trailer, not the only thing we do. We obviously introduce new content like the Mirai Fury. We deliver previous promised content. And as you'll see today and tomorrow, we do a lot of gameplay support. So obviously we help out. Ships are like the heroes of the game. You saw in the resource network engineering panel how that's going to impact ships. You will have seen, if you've been paying super close attention, some UI elements to do with maps. Stay tuned for that. We do all that. So we do a lot of work across all aspects of both projects. And to do all that, we need to do a few things.
Hire people.
Okay, yeah, so John's talked a bit about the backlog. I'm going to kind of take a little bit, how are we going to deliver this? So in April 2023, we actually kicked off a new ship team in our newest studio, Turbulent, based out of Montreal. Yeah, go Canada. So we've now got 5 artists or vehicle artists, 1 vehicle designer, 1 embedded QA tester, and 1 producer. And that kind of gives us everything we need to start bringing content out of another location.
Elengar, if you just got gifted a membership, you can actually go to the main page on the YouTube channel, and we got some exclusive videos that you can now watch. Check them out. They're kind of fun.
And it also means that we now have kind of reps globally for the vehicle content team in all 5 of our studios. What's the really nice thing about that is it kind of opens up a new pool of a kind of talent that we can pick from, and it should really help us to deliver some more content to the game. And you've actually just seen the first 2 ships out of that studio. So the Scout variant and the Zeus are both being developed by our Montreal team. Yeah, they're doing great. We're going to look a little bit more in depth at the kind of the art team and how we've grown over the years. You can see from this graph, this is our kind of like live numbers of how many vehicle artists we have dedicated to the project. You can see there's...
For reference, from what I've heard, they're around 50 or so at this point. So they grew a lot from the end of 23 to the end of 24. And we can see that in the amount of ships that are now releasing, not concepts, like straight up ships.
A nice trajectory going up. And with more team members, that also means we get kind of like not just more people to throw at stuff, but we get more experience, we get more knowledge, and that's that allows us to kind of tackle our larger, kind of more complex ships. You will notice there in 2022 there is a little dip, and unfortunately when that happens, that has kind of real consequences on what we are able to do as a team. I think less people, so less power to put on stuff, but also some of that knowledge leaves us. With that leads us to have to make some kind of pretty hard and
that's like
what,
21 to 14. That's literally a 30% decrease, right? 7 out of 21. Jeez.
Working on, and I think most recently and probably most well known is the Bounty Merchantman. Yeah. Now, we're going to take a quick look at where we got to with the Merchantman, just to show where we were up to before that happened in 2022.
So everybody's watching this and we're like, wait, this is looking good. We haven't gotten an update in a while, but it looks pretty good in the game now. So, Waffle Insanity, you're spot on. I think that's really the same ship we saw in the last update, just in better scene, which I think is what comes next from them.
So that video shows, where we got up to with the Merchantman. You can see we'd finished white box. We were kind of into grey box. Some areas were further than others. And I think one of the best things about working at a company like Cloud Imperium Games is that we're able to be pretty honest and pretty open with our development.
Uh-oh.
One of the big
Everybody in the crowd at this point was like, hold on, where is this going?
biggest questions we get is, what's up with the Merchantman? Where is it? Why did it stop? And the Merchantman brought a lot of unique challenges to us.
Money?
It was a completely new art style, something that's very, very different from what we normally do with our human manufacturers. I think, we could have paused other ships. We could have moved some of our other artists onto the Merchantman, but
Yeah, it's not fun to have to explain this. They actually didn't even have to do this at a CitizenCon either. They could have just snuck this into a... Honestly, they could have done this in like a Spectrum post, but I think that probably would have gotten... The fact that they did this at CitizenCon has probably saved them a lot of nightmare. But still, not fun to have to explain all this, as you can tell from his explanation.
With the kind of exodus of our kind of senior team in 2022, we didn't just lose people, we lost a lot of the knowledge that went into building out that white box and really kind of delivering that art style. What we decided to do at the time is, rather than try and rush something out and just get something out to get it done, we looked at where we were, and for us, the most important thing was growing our team back up. We wanted to invest in our team and use our seniors and our kind of managers to help get us up to the point where we can tackle multiple large and capital ships at one time. I think the graph previously kind of showed that we've got the head numbers now, and now it's about onboarding our new staff members. It's about skilling them up and getting them to the point. And I would absolutely love to be stood here on the stage and going, yeah, look at the Merchantman, it's amazing, like it's done. But we're not at that point just yet. We do see all the comments, I do see all the notes about it, and I absolutely want to get this ship out and done. I just wanted to be open and honest as to where we are up to with the development.
Yeah. To add to that, it is probably the most question I get asked at any event, and I really want to get it done, get it out for you guys, but we don't want to give you a half-baked thing. We want to give you a really great product that we can all be proud of, and it's delivered alongside gameplay. So, let's talk about something else quickly.
All right, we got through it. The room was dead silence. That whole time. It was so hyped after that video. Let's go back to the end of that video real quick.
Yeah! Let's go!
And then right there. Not another sound from the crowd for the next 2 minutes. That's rough, man. But I mean, that was this was it. This was the end moment of this whole line of... I got rid of all the windows, but you guys were there for it. That whole line of hype. From the announcement and the questions starting early on in 2013 nonstop, to CIG understanding that and realizing that, and starting to work on the ship in 2018, talking about it more and more, dedicating whole ISC episodes, large chunks of time to it, and then some people leave, and what are you going to do? Put out a bad product or make the best of a bad situation? I'm glad they did it. That would have been terrible if they had gone through with it, tried to finish the ship, and then it was A, not finished by the person who started all that design language, and B, didn't have the gameplay it was supposed to have. That would have been a waste. So I'm glad they made that decision, but it sucks. It shows how difficult it is to make a game, but also we know some of the people who were working there at that on these things were poached by Star Atlas. And that also kind of goes to show how pressure can start to mount in the industry, how competition can start to seek you out, and how even though this is around the time when people are like, hey, you guys are making so much money, where's the progress? CIG is on the other side of the wall saying, we're so sorry, we can't pay you more than this, we need to pay these other people. And of course, you can get into a whole conversation of which employees are necessary, who should be getting paid what for what they're doing. Should Chris have all these yachts? Whatever, whatever criticism it's going to be. But case in point, you can't really control what your employees are doing. And if somebody has to leave or step down or do something else, it can cause delays. And I think that happens to them a lot. They ran themselves too thin. They spread way too thin. Like, they shouldn't have to pay this many people. Probably. I don't know, actually. I'm not a doctor, but it does feel like the studio is very large, and given the time it's taken and the way that the games have been made, one could say you probably have a smaller development team just focused on Squadron for a lot of those years, with another team that's working on like the foundationals of Star Citizen. But heck if I know. That is the story of the Banu Merchantmen. As Waffle Insanity said in chat, probably one of the biggest diversions of development in this game towards something that was heavily marketed, heavily invested in, and then just simply had to be dropped. And we haven't heard anything since this. I don't think we've heard anything since this. People don't even ask about it anymore because it's kind of, everybody just understands it. Okay, they left. What are you going to do? At this point, we're probably going to wait until the Kraken Privateer, or at least Player Shops. Either way, there's yet another one of Star Citizen's legacies. And that, my friends, was one of the longest deep dives we've ever done. I think that was a long overview of that ship. Jesus. You still ask about the 600i rework? Sorry, I think they actually said something about that recently, right? That the 600i... didn't they mention the 600i is like still pretty far away? Devs working on a project for years with no real portfolio to speak of could be the main issue, and not money. Workflow is too long with no results. Well, I agree, but like working at it for that long only to quit right a couple years before the game comes out. Yes, you know, work will always be decided in different ways, but specifically, Paul Jones got a pretty nice offer from a much bigger company in the industry. Not to say that it is money. Who knows what it is? Could be. It could be the not showing up on their portfolio as well. The giveaway bot's having a problem. Fun to be here for it once. Cheers. Alien, thank you for being here for it. Sometimes you just want a new challenge after years. Yeah. Yep. Sometimes you just want to move on and do something else. Honestly, working on a single space game, I love space games, but working on the same space game for 8-9 years would wear on me for sure. Yeah. I'd be over that. I just want to play it at that point, you know? Sit back and let somebody else finish it. Yeah, the ship team is huge now. I'm hoping they can be careful with the amount of ships they're adding right now. Obviously, as long as you can keep the differences nuanced and not make anything too powerful over anything else, you can keep adding different models of ships that do pretty similar things, but Then they start adding ships with different kinds of mechanics and stuff. Or combining different types of guns. And you're like, okay, all right. How many years are you going to do this for every month? The Rock DS? You know, that is a good excuse to add something to the game. Rock DS is one of the best successes they've ever had. Victura! Hello, my friend. How's it going? Hey, I've got, I gotta find your coin. Here it is. Check it, dude. I told you guys when we got this gifted from Victoria, sent this over. We're gonna put it up on our wall here. I'll have Mrs. Tomato added on here later on. I think I see a spot up there next to the NASA coin. Thank you for that, dude. What was the code for the giveaway? That's a Mrs. Tomato question. Once Squadron's finished, you wonder what will be the first thing CIG takes care of. The after release update to Squadron. Inevitably. All right, y'all. Anything else you guys want to hear about, learn about, know about? I would, like I said, I didn't have anything planned for today. And then I was like, I'll go over the Banu Merchantman. I didn't think it was going to take 2 hours. But here we are. And I'm down to talk about something else for a little bit if you got a question about something. Otherwise, I'm going to go have dinner, you know? The medical gown is one of the rarest items in SC now. Good point. The Arastra. Nothing really to say about the Arastra. It's a cool ship, though. You think they will add a bigger Banu ship after the Banu Merchantman? No, I think that'll be the big one. I think that's where they'll sit. A speed dive into the Odyssey. Didn't we touch on the Odyssey last time? Yesterday. Will there be new ships for the Alien Week? Yeah, it sounds like they've got plans for a variant of a popular ship. I actually don't know if this is the variant of the popular ship they mentioned in last month's report. In, no, the April report. But we do have a variant of a Prowler, it sounds like, coming up. No, I don't see it in here. Must have been a different monthly report. Won't see anything about mining till 2039. Dang. Hopefully not. What are the chances we get the ability to layer clothes before Squadron 42's release? I think the chances are pretty high, actually. That seems like one of the things that they are actively working on without talking about. I don't really have any proof of that. But I get the vibe that Starware is relatively important. Engineering and physical armor. Want to see how the Perseus hits with the size 8 ballistics. Size 8's crazy. Slightly better scanning interface is the only new mining related content in 4.2. I do like that that's happening. Hopefully we see the scanning stuff in the EPTU next month. Or this month. You could bless us right now, CIG. Any word on suit lockers? Nothing. Haven't heard anything. You don't get the Prowler variant if junior artists are getting to know the ship pipeline and this is the product of that team. You're okay, but there are so many ships waiting on a gold pass. Gold passes don't make as much money though. Batuan Yildiz. Welcome to the chat. Oshgalinus. They're trying to make money. Variants are easy. I could see a stealth cargo ship working out. We'll have to see if there's anything really truly special about it. But as they develop more and more missions, I could definitely see reasons to have a ship that can carry some cargo and stay under the radar. Does doing seasonal move in Turkey rock out of curiosity? I think about doing that all the time. It's amazing, dude. It's great because where we are in California gets extremely hot in the summer. Where we are in Turkey doesn't. Or at least has water here. So it makes it a lot easier to get through the summer. And it's just like, it's a different vibe. It's like a mini culture shock almost, because things are actually relatively different, you know? It's not like going to England or even to Germany. It's actually living life quite a different way over here. So it's cool. It's a cool experience. Yeah, money is the answer. I hope they do the gold pass on the Prowler, but they did not do a gold pass on the Prospector, right? I don't think they did one on the Valkyrie either. Granted, now the Asgard is not technically a Valkyrie variant. But come on. We know they started with the Valkyrie as a base for that. Oh, the food here is incredible. I love to tell the story that when I moved here, guys, when I first got to do all the lights today. When I first got to Turkey, through a new and profound love for baklava that I didn't know I had, and my mother-in-law's incredible kindness and want to feed, and also all the other good food that was going. It wasn't just the baklava. A lot of the baklava, though. I gained 40 pounds in 6 months. I'm not really somebody whose weight changes all that much. Like in life, my weight's mostly been the same, outside of obviously growing from a tiny baby to a adult. So it was pretty crazy. It was the first time in my life I had to like take a second and be like, okay, hold on. I can't get out of control here. And you can see it too, because I had started my streams by then. If you go back to my very early streams, you could see the weight gain in my face because I had just gotten to Turkey. The dolma will get you. That's more my wife's food. I love dolma. I love the meat dolma, but I'm more of a kebab kind of guy. Çökertme kebab, Adana kebab. The good stuff. What ship do I want a variant of? You know, I would really love a Crusader M1. Like a armored, turreted version of the C1. I think would be really cool. I would throw some stealth components in that. Put a matte black skin on it. Kind of like the one that you have for the Ares Ion. Or the Ares Inferno. What else? I would really love an Apollo that is focused on like deep space exploration. Which with some spawn beds, I mean, basically is, right? Yeah, I love my Turkish food. Dude, I have, I don't know if you can see it from there on the camera, but I got baklava tattooed on my arm here, and I got a Turkish tea glass tattooed on my arm here, because I eat it more than anything. Someday I'm probably gonna get a simit around my head. The golden crown. Oh, I love the Starlancer tack. Don't be mean to the tack. A heavy hitting terrapin. with a gunner like a hurricane. That'd be so funny to see. That would be hilarious, dude. Of just a massive turret on top of a terrapin. Dude, Simmit's so good. I'm more of an Achma guy. Or even Tereala Simit, but any kind of Simit is solid. Am I using a VPN? Not right now. I don't think it's on. I do most of the day. Oh, I am. It is on. Is that causing problems? Are you seeing issues? How did you know that? Are you hacking me? Am I hacked? Are you anonymous? Are you 4chan, dude? Do you know that stuff? Yeah, we need one for Discord. It's actually extremely annoying because I go throughout the day thinking I'm just not hearing Discord, and then I'll remember that my VPN's not on, and turn it on, and then look. Was the VPN causing the YouTube playback quality issues? Maybe. I don't really want to turn it off now because who knows what that's going to do to my connection on the stream. It could have been, though. And confirm after I get off the stream. Do I believe a lot of ships got overgunned when they removed the size dip with gimbals? I've never really thought about that. I think it certainly changed the way that the game was going to be balanced. Yeah, Discord is still blocked here. Very annoying because we rely on Discord for the podcast. And obviously the whole community. Use OpenDPI to connect to Discord. I'll keep it in mind. Thank you. They were going to let people use it again? I hope so. How's the break from gaming? Honestly, it's not that crazy because I don't game too often. You know what really bugs me? I wish I had gotten Star Wars Outlaws on Xbox instead of the Ubisoft store, because now I find myself constantly wanting to play it on my Xbox, but it's on my PC. Very frustrating. Ooh, gaming break is okay though. I really want to play Jump Ship. I've been hurting to play it, and I'm kind of annoyed I didn't get to play it on stream today. Thank you everybody, by the way, who helped with the funding today. We made it halfway to our goal, which means I should be able to get at least one part so we can start rebuilding this computer. And if I can't, I'm going to try one more day of troubleshooting the motherboard to see if in any way I can get it to start back up or reflash the BIOS or something. And if I can't do that, we will order a replacement for the motherboard and probably have it by early next week, I think. So we should have we'll have one or two more streams like this. Just trying to break that goal, and hopefully we get this thing rebuilt so we can get back to the gameplay. Alan, thank you for gifting out 5 memberships over on YouTube. Say thank you, people. Say thank you. No, I'm kidding. But really, if he gave you a membership, do say thank you. Got you some perks. Come in and check out the podcast live this week. Motherboard issues are such a pain. If you haven't reseated the RAM. Oh, I've reseated. Reseated so much the chair is broken. Did the PC break? Dude, honestly, I don't know. I don't think it did. But I guess it seems like it. I mean, first I was having DRAM light come on with the motherboard. And then I reseated everything a couple times, and then I started having the VGA light come on and the boot light, and now it won't boot. I don't know, so it seems like a motherboard issue, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I replaced the CPU. I don't know. I don't know. Take it apart, gentle clean, put back, then swap bits in and out. Sounds like good advice for the cyber psychos in 2077. Mobo driver issue. Yeah, but like, even if it were a motherboard driver issue, wouldn't a reflash work? Not a bent pin. Have confirmed. Beard Simos. Power supply seems to be working. I've tested it out and everything seems good. I actually have a problem where I don't have any power supplies that have enough ports for my GPUs. I did not know. And maybe I'm stupid for this. Okay, so feel free to give me some shit for it. But I didn't realize that you could not use a daisy-chained power cable for your GPU. Does not work like that. I thought it was a limit of the connection and how much power it could transfer, but it's literally a limit of the cord. So you have to use 3 separate cords for these newer, bigger GPUs, and I do not have that many, so I do need to get some new power units soon. Can't you find a professional close to you for your PC? No, we are way out here in Turkey. Like 4 hours from Istanbul out here. Maybe I could find somebody, but I don't even know where to start there, and also wouldn't be able to really communicate with them. Moisture corroding the chipset. Yeah, I've got the 850 watts. It's actually really annoying it doesn't come with enough cords. Definitely not third world, man. That's ridiculous. BIOS version on the Mobo supports the new CPU installed. It's the same CPU that was in it before. I just took it out and then put it back in. Tried updating the BIOS. Didn't work. The little light goes bleep. Get out of here, Waffle. Each GPU can peak up to 300 watts. The reported wattage is the average for each GPU. Well, I got the extra spiffy span 850, and it'd still be struggling. You should not have done that with the CPU. I don't have a choice. CPUs are expensive, and I need a computer when we travel back, so I gotta take the CPU out until I can afford to get more. Waffle, I mean, does have insanity in the name. Should come out and visit sometime, man. We can get a little Star Citizen meetup going on out here. Hey, shout out, somebody just... Hold on a second, let me adjust this. Somebody just threw a little bit more towards the computer repair. Thank you, friend. We see you. We appreciate your help. It's AM5, yeah. It was a 7800X 3D. In Fethiye? You live there? You stayed there, Neil? What do I see on CPU ID hardware info? Seeing some wiggles at the voltage. I don't actually have CPU ID hardware info. Unless that's a Windows. Ooh, what is this? Oh! I probably shouldn't just start running software on my computer. I don't know what it is. Oh, perfect. This tells me all the info about my CPU. Nice. Voltage, voltage, voltage. Oh, this isn't even the right CPU, so that doesn't help. I was thinking of the other CPU. This is the computer that's actually working. But yeah, I mean, I don't see anything here. Can't even get the computer on to know what's going on. All right, y'all. I'm about done for the night. I'm going to go ahead and head off for some dinner. Thank you, everybody, for coming and checking out the stream. We're going to get these computer problems figured out. We're going to get back to the normal stream. We've got some GII stuff that we really want to do, new player streams planned, other game stuff, Star Citizen, of course, and Jump Ship. So we're not going anywhere. Even if this computer doesn't work, we will stream to you live from a freaking phone pointed at the computer screen or something. Either way, thanks for being here, folks. We'll probably be live with a cooking stream on Friday after whatever the heck we end up doing. And I will have some videos for you as soon as I can get the computer working. TomatoCon 2025. The garden greeting. The good old meetup. Thanks again, guys. I will see you on Friday. I'm going to leave you off with Piss Poor Pete. Give him a shout out in the chat. Make him feel loved. Show him where the raid's coming from. Much love to you. Treat yourselves well. Eat something you love. Find somebody you love. Give them a hug. Do something good for yourself today. You're good people. See you next time. Just before we head off, I do want to say thank you to Philip Blum. Gifted out some memberships on YouTube. Huge thank you for that. Appreciate your support. Sorry I didn't get you earlier. Have a wonderful day, everybody.